All right, good evening. Welcome to everybody. This is the December 12th meeting of the Board of Finance. We've moved our meeting from the scheduled Long Hill Conference Room to the council chambers. There are signs up noticing that change. And we're going to call the meeting to order at 7:06. If you would stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please be seated. So I'm looking around the room and I don't see anybody who isn't signed up to be here this evening. If there's anybody for public comment, if not, we will pass on to that. And we'll move on to our internal auditor's report. Rebecca Lopez is here with us this evening.
Good evening, members of the board. Before you, you have the Trumbull Public School Lunch Program audit or results report with the results. And in the executive summary, you can see the summarized portion of the findings. There seems to be a significant amount on them, so I won't be reviewing them in detail. But if you have any questions with regard to any of those findings or anything that you found in the report, I'm open.
Did you all have a chance to look at the report? Okay. There's some lengthy findings in there that I would like to go through at some point. One thing that I would like is just a timeline for like resolution, how you left it with the department, and what our timeline is to make sure that those recommendations are followed.
Okay. When speaking with the director of the food services, he was currently implementing changes with the department as a result of not only this audit, but also the audit that they had back in May with the state. Some of the findings, or one of the findings in particular, was very similar to what the state had found, where the school lunch applications had been either we found that there were some that were incomplete or missing information, or in one case, the approval was provided to someone or to a family who had exceeded the thresholds from the federal government, USDA thresholds for free lunch or reduced lunch. We give about, I'm going to say 6 months to a year, but because this was school year 2024, it would have to be until after the school year of 2025, when then we can go back and make, review. However, in the recommendation, I had made the recommendation that there's a secondary review, not just the director of food services reviewing it and approving it, and perhaps keeping in mind that he was in this position for less than a year, and because of COVID, training was not provided by the state of Connecticut in a timely manner. So once he received that training, now he knows exactly what the state expects.
Good.
So it may be, I'm going to say greater than 8 months because of the school year before we can go back and follow up the review.
Okay, thank you. Is it possible for the state audit, that report to be sent to the board? That's all. Awesome. Anybody have any other questions or follow-up for Rebecca? Okay, thank you. It was very thorough and appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Next up, Attorney Musto's here this evening. Hey, Anthony.
Hey.
Got good news for us?
Yeah. It's almost Christmas, holidays, New Year's, etc.
Jingle all the way.
Jingle all the way.
Jingle all the way.
Good evening, Madam Chair and members of the Board of Finance. I did send you my report as usual. It's, the interest rates are still high. We're still earning money, and so things look good for the time being. About halfway there through November, so it's only 5 months of the year, which means if we're about halfway there, we've got another 7. So we'll see what happens in the new year. But it's the normal report, normal information, usual stuff you guys are used to. Just see if you have any questions, and if not, we'll move on. Hey, Scott.
Go ahead, Scott.
Hi, Anthony. Quick question. I know normally you stick to short-term CDs. Being that the interest rates are probably going down, were we able to lock into anything longer, even for a lower amount of money?
The CDs are almost all, actually, at this point, they're becoming all actually 13 months CDs. It used to be that we were getting all short-term gains, but what we're trying to do is ladder them so that one comes due every month, but now I've sort of doubled one of them, so we have 13 of them instead of 12. But they're all about 13 months, 12 or they're all either 12 or 13 months.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else?
All right, folks, well, happy holidays. Enjoy.
I'll go on. Thank you.
care.
Okay. Next, we have the annual review of our rules and procedures. And Attorney Shopek asked, I'm sorry, that'll be on the next piece. But if you'd all look at our page 16 of your packet, the Board of Finance rules and procedures, they are unchanged from last year. Did anybody have any questions or concerns? Any changes or discussion? If not, can I have a motion to accept the Board of Finance rules and procedures as presented?
So moved.
Thank you, Dave.
Second.
Thank you, Scott. Any other discussion, any questions? No? All right, can I take them by unanimous consent? All right, we got rules. Let's make sure we follow them. On page 18, I'd like a motion to accept our Board of Finance intradepartmental transfers policy and procedure. This is the policy that allows Maria to make small amount transfers throughout the year and to let us know at the end.
So, go ahead. So
We'll
moved.
give it to Scott this time.
Scott,
Gets to
second.
move it, and David will get to second. And then there is a question that was brought up by Attorney Shopek about the duration. It says this policy shall go into effect December 12th, 2024 and expire on December 10th, 2025. And the Board of Finance reserves the right to cancel or modify this policy by majority vote of the Board of Finance and with notice to the Director of Finance. This policy may be renewed by unanimous vote of the Board of Finance after the expiration date of December 10th. Attorney Shopek, you had a question of whether we should remove that or amend that?
Yes. First of all, that last sentence that says that it can only be amended by unanimous consent, you're adopting it by majority,
Okay.
and then you're saying it can only be amended unanimously.
I'm not saying that.
No, I'm
If
just
you-
saying
Yeah,
that's,
I would like,
that's how it's presented. I have thought it's possible just to take that whole paragraph out, because you're adopting it now, and then if it's going to be, whenever it's going to be changed, it can be changed, and I don't think that paragraph is necessary.
okay. Any comments? Or?
Would it make sense not to just say by majority vote?
Well, he's saying we don't
And leave it?
necessarily need that when we do the next year. So if we don't need that, are you okay with striking that? Okay, so can I have a motion to amend the interdepartmental transfers policy and procedures as discussed? Thank you, Scott. Thank you, Paul. This is they're like in competition today. This is great. All those in favor of amending the policy and procedure to strike the paragraph beginning duration? The entire paragraph. So we're going to take the duration out.
Good.
Okay. Can I take that by unanimous consent? Okay, so we're striking that. And then all those in favor of the policy as amended, can I take that by unanimous consent? Okay, good. So Maria can wiggle the stuff around she needs to wiggle around, and we'll vote on it again next year. On page 19, You have a tentative Board of Finance 2025 meeting schedule. We will continue with our planned meetings on the second Thursday of the month at 7 p.m. And we can either hold them in person or virtually via Zoom. And now we have the hybrid capability also. So we'll be able to notify changes due to inclement weather and things like that. Anybody see anything out of the ordinary?
I think the February date, February 12th, is a Wednesday.
Is February 12th? Well, let us check that out. Hang on one second. Hang on a second. December, January,
What month are we looking at?
February.
February.
You are correct. So it would be February the 13th. Okay. Can I have a motion to, let me do this, a motion to accept the meeting schedule as presented?
So moved.
So moved. All right. So we'll give that to David. Scott can second that.
Yep.
And then Paul is going to motion to amend the February, because since he said that we made a mistake, and it's going to be Thursday, February 13th will be the correction.
I am making that motion.
You made that motion.
Second.
Scott seconded it. Rosemary needs to be a little quicker.
I'm not gonna.
That's all right. All those in favor of amending the schedule as we just discussed, is that by unanimous consent?
Yep.
Good. And can we take the schedule as amended by unanimous consent?
I have one,
Go ahead.
one more question. You did mention hybrid. Do we have to call that out? Because we're calling out that it can be, the meeting can be held in person or virtually. Do we have to address that we can do it hybrid?
Do we have to add that in the notice that we have
Well,
the
instead of
hybrid
just-
capability? Because it says
Well,
in person or virtually. Do
We're
we have
saying
to
we're
say or
holding the
hybrid?
meeting virtually. Like we could
on
hold
the
it
thing?
here, but you could come in virtually.
We don't have to change that, do we?
So what are we changing?
I don't know yet. All I'm saying is like, is there a difference if we held the meeting here, but like Marty was away and wanted to Zoom
Yeah.
in?
Do we have to say that that it can be held hybrid?
I think you can do it anyway. Anybody can zoom in at a meeting.
Okay. So as long as it says in person or virtually.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. So you're all good with these dates, and I can take that by unanimous consent. Okay. Excellent. Moving on. All right. Now to the big stuff. So the resolutions for bonding are a little different. We have a little bit of a different script. So I need, is there a motion and I'm sorry, I need you to move the resolution forward, and then I got to read this.
Resolution 12-24-01, bonding resolution for the Board of Education, $6,480,000. Resolution appropriating $6,480,000 for the Trumbull Board of Education Capital Improvement Plan, fiscal year 25-26, and authorizing the issuance of $6,480,000 bonds of the town to meet said appropriation and pending the issuance thereof, the making of temporary borrowings for such purpose.
Okay.
I move its adoption.
Okay. So there's a motion and a second is there a motion and a second to read the title of the Board of Education CIP bond resolution in its entirety and to waive the reading of the remainder of the resolution incorporating its full text into the minutes of this meeting?
So moved.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Scott. Okay. So all those in favor of waiving the things, we're all okay with that? Anybody not okay with that? All right, good.
One day I'm gonna make you read.
The two of you,
You have
children.
You have to be the one that reads it.
It'll be like the last, actually, the next one. Yeah.
We used to do it.
I know, but don't egg them on, please. I beg you. All right. With us tonight, we have Dr. Semmel, Superintendent of Schools, Paul Hendricks, our Board of Ed Director of Finance, as well as Director of Facilities, Director of Athletics, here with us to talk about the bonding resolution. Do you guys want to talk a little bit about it?
Ask one question before we
Sure.
jump in. Before we get into it, can we know how much is coming off for bonding for the Board of Ed and for the town?
13 million
That's total.
total.
Is that a happy number for you? No, for you. Is it a happy number? We like that number?
Not that we want to add 21.
Okay.
The number itself is okay.
All right. Dean, I don't know your last name.
Kevin Dion.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Why did I just say
Kevin Dion, Director of
Dean?
Operations.
I'm sorry. Dean is the Director of Special Ed. I'm sorry. I got Dean, Dion.
look
I was
a lot alike.
close, so close. So if you would just introduce yourself to everybody.
Good evening. Kevin Dion, Director of Operations for the Trumbull Public Schools Board of Ed. Today we present our capital. I have been here since August 1st. I have worked in other school districts, so I am familiar with a lot of the challenges that we face, especially in Connecticut, with older buildings and trying to keep them up and running and servicing of our students in our community. So looking at our capital, we went through the capital. My predecessor did some of this, and when I came in, I continued the work that he did. And tonight we present the capital, and these are the items that we feel for the next coming year we need to keep the buildings going, to keep them climate controlled, to keep them secure, the envelope dry. So that's what we are presenting to you tonight. Tonight, again, the total for the capital, yes, it is about $6 million we are requesting, but that is what's needed to keep our buildings safe and sound.
Okay. In our packets this evening, if you look at page 24, begins the page 105 where it outlines, that's that grid. We try very hard to look at those tiny little numbers, but it breaks down each of the projects by category. And if you look across, you'll see that what was approved in 2024, what are potential grant or funding sources, what was approved in the 5-year capital plan, and then what the 1-year request is. Would you like to go quickly through each department? How do you want to do it? Do you want to do it like that discussion? So if you look at page 20, I hate these double-sided pages. I know it's good for the trees. 26 starts with Hillcrest. There's no money being requested for Hillcrest because that now has a separate bond for design and moving through after the referendum for the new school. Madison Middle School, any questions for hardware, ADA compliance, HVAC issues there? Middlebrook Elementary School, HVAC, and then on-site construction of an exterior masonry wall replacement. I'm sorry, can you just turn your microphone on? I can't hear because the blower's on.
The HVAC was done last year. They aren't looking for bonding on that.
No, I apologize. Any questions up through Middlebrook Elementary? Okay. That's okay. The red numbers on the top, the bigger red numbers. We're good?
Got it.
Any questions on Daniels Farm? Looks like parking lot paving and bathroom upgrades, fixtures. Jane Ryan, HVAC, main office. That's the RTU. That's the unit on the roof, the
That's
rooftop.
a rooftop unit, and that one actually, it's a split unit. It's an air conditioning unit, similar to what you see in your home. It just does a small area of the main office, and that needs replacing.
Okay. Booth Hill. Doesn't look like there's any money being requested for Booth Hill. That was done last year, okay. Tashua Elementary School. Go ahead.
Was the backup generator initially at another school and then moved over to Tashua?
Correct. Are you asking existing or in the plan itself?
I guess in the plan.
Yes, in the plan there was, I believe it was Daniels Farms was one of the ones we were looking at for a generator. Unfortunately, in the time since we presented, we have realized that the one at Tashua actually needs to be replaced. We're just having a lot of maintenance issues, the age, and we would actually like to move that generator to an outside pad. It's currently an indoor generator, which creates its own challenges. It's exhausting all the flues and the gas. It's good the way it is, but it would be nicer if we're going to do work on a new generator to actually put it on an outside pad.
Okay, so all right. I was thinking maybe there was a mistake, but this is an incremental issue that popped up.
This is an issue that, right, we need to really correct it. So that's what the problem with these plans, a month goes by.
Right,
so
okay,
that's
thank
where
you.
we are.
So did I hear correctly that the power backup generator for Daniels Farm is not going to be needed?
We do need it. Both are needed, but right now with the priority list, I knew I'd be asked why Tashawa was added in. It was added because they're both in need. It's not to say that one's better than the other, but right now we're leaking oil into one at Tashawa, and so I think that one, and it's an indoor one, really needs to be replaced and put outside.
And is that the reason for the difference in the cost between the two?
So this one, exactly. This one's going to go, as is, this is a partial generator as well. It's a smaller, it only does part of the building, keeps the essential systems up.
Okay, so even though it's listed as a full power backup, it's a partial? Is that correct?
On my sheet, it says, for Tashawa, it says replace generator, 75,000. Is that the one you?
It shows full backup generator 310.
310 it's showing.
We like your
We
number
ex-
better.
We accept your amendment.
we like
Yeah,
yours.
we're good with that.
That was partial. The 310 is for is for doing the whole building.
Okay.
So the 310 is really what we would want. I don't know whether the number was changed here with the 310 though.
Well,
Can you clarify? I'm sorry, you got us a little confused. So, sounds like there's an immediate need for the 75, but you need 310 to do
310 if
the.
we were to put it outside
whole
and go
school.
exactly and put it and do the whole school.
Is
We'll
there
bring it to the 310.
efficiencies to doing the whole school at a time as opposed to just giving you 75 now?
Yes, you'd have a different, larger generator that would have better capacity, so you'd be buying it all at once. So it's an upgrade as well as getting more services to the generator and putting it outside on a better location.
So at the Daniels Farm, you originally had a $250,000 generator in there. It has not been moved forward into this request, and that was for $250,000. Is it because the size of the school is different? Because of the
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the size of the generator actually and what it carries. Correct.
Okay. Anybody have any other questions about the generator?
Just one.
Go ahead.
So can I assume in the 310 that's also prepping the site that you'll have to put it outside?
Correct.
Okay.
That's for a pad site as well. Concrete.
Okay. We're good with Tashawa. Moving on to Frenchtown. There's sidewalk repair, replacing a flat roof, and then also glycol replacement. I have a question about glycol replacement. Glycol replacement for $75,000. I understand that's what came after Freon, right? So,
No.
So what is glycol?
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Then and is that something that's truly just maintenance? Like, does it have a 20-year life to it? How does glycol work?
Yes. So glycol is for water systems that go outside or go on exterior walls. It's like antifreeze for your HVAC systems, which is different. Freon refrigerants, which you see in your air conditioning units, that's different. That's a gas. This is actually a liquid, such as antifreeze, really, very expensive antifreeze. And that stops all your systems from freezing during cold months.
Yes, sounds like something we definitely need to do. Not
You
questioning
definitely
that.
need to do it. Yep, especially, and you do have a cooling tower out there outside as well. So you're really worried about any freezing that goes on out there. The problem is that you lose some of it every time you have a leak, and we replenish all the time, of course. But the building is older. The 2002 was really when this glycol was fully in the system, and every 15 to 20 years, you do have to drain it down and refill it with fresh glycol. It's a glycol water mix, but you do need the glycol. It'll change color and it'll smell.
So this is
really
not
bad.
something that you do for routine maintenance.
This is not a yearly maintenance. This is something you do every 15 to 20 years where you draw it all out. You add new glycol water mix, you freshen it up, and you fill the whole building back up. That's why it's so expensive.
Go ahead, Marty.
Can I ask a related question? I know you can't use Freon anymore in these systems, and then I understood that effective January of next year, whatever the current stuff you're using, that can't be used anymore either. It's not related to this request, but since you're here, I just want to ask real quickly: is that true? So all new HVAC have to use a different coolant system, which requires different compressors and condensers and all that? Is that
Yes, that is true. The 401A refrigerants and all the new refrigerants that come out, they change every once in a while. This is for new purchases, so this is for anything that's added in after January will be required to have a different refrigerant than we currently have. You'll still be able to get the refrigerants that we have. You don't have to change everything over.
You don't have to
They'll just become
okay.
exponentially more expensive because they're not produced anymore. And that's what happened with 32 and even Freon. And all those ones became more expensive every time they made a changeover to a different refrigerant.
Okay, but that doesn't require us to do rebuilds because they're changing that. You can still get that.
Unless we had a total catastrophic failure, put a whole new system, new rooftop unit in, then it's going to be the new refrigerant. Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so that, go ahead.
You sure?
Yeah, I can go back to my question's easy.
So if I'm following, as of January, we'll have to use a newer. Anything that goes in, we'll use the new stuff. All the old stuff's going to be more expensive, which makes sense, right? Because you're cutting off. Should we be doing the Jane Ryan RTU now or waiting?
On those smaller units, it's probably not going to be a big difference. Bigger differences are going to be.
Well, because it just uses less volume, right? Like
Yes, yeah.
Right? So filling up, like my home one is
It's like
costs $100 or whatever it is.
Yeah, 3.5 ton unit. We're not talking
Okay.
70, 80 ton units that you would see in a commercial
Not
building.
like a whole building one.
Correct.
Got it.
Correct.
Okay, that makes more sense to me. When we had talked about when the numbers that we were considering that we didn't think glycol was something that you did every 15, 20 years, so why would we bond glycol replacement? It makes more sense to me now. Does anybody have any question about that? We're good? Okay. So that's coming through Frenchtown and then on to Tech.
Can we get one more Frenchtown question?
Go ahead.
Has the roof on this building, the school building, fulfilled its originally projected economic life, or does this seem a little early for its replacement?
They have had problems with this flat section of the roof for a long time. Again, I've only been here since August,
Yeah,
but
the
there has
school
been
building
years.
is less than 20 years old, right?
2002 was the building was built, so you're a little over 20 years for that building, so you're past any sort of warranty. But there has been leaks there, so it is time to do certain parts. And flat roofs are tough. When you have a pitched roof, it's nice, easy to shed the water. Those flat roofs, the drains have to be there, the flashing.
I was
When you start getting leaks, they're hard to
assuming,
find.
frankly, the school was less than 20 years old. I was just been reminded it's greater than 20.
Lost 10 years of his life.
I guess so.
Frenchtown opened the year my daughter went to kindergarten, and she's now 26. So that just made me feel really old. Really old. Yeah. So, and that's just part of the roof. It's not the entire roof for the building.
It's just one section.
Any other questions on Frenchtown on the roof? Which brings us to TechEc, and TechEc's not much different in age than Frenchtown, which is why I looked at the boiler replacement. Like, do we have to replace that already? So
20 years of life expectancy on a boiler, and we're right there. 2005 it was built. So
So
Sorry,
is this a
just having a moment.
preemptive change? The reason I ask is because I want to say it was last year, or the year before, we changed out like 65-year-old boilers. I'm not saying we need to do that, but clearly, we all know things aren't built the same. But it seems short in the life of the rest of the boilers comparatively to what we've done in the school.
there's a lot of factors to that. It's first of all the maker. It's also how it's maintained. Water systems, making sure that you have chemicals in the water to neutralize it, so you don't have a lot of free oxygen floating around, which basically rusts out the inside. It's heavy use. A lot of the boilers, if they're undersized, and I don't know if this one is, I'm not saying it is or isn't, but it puts stress on it. So there's a lot of issues, and it's the install. So if the install wasn't 100%, it's an older boiler. It is showing its age. I've been there. I've seen some of the maintenance that's on it. It is showing the signs of maintenance. It is not that it is not functioning, but this is preemptive that it's going to fail catastrophically. And it's, again, putting $40,000 when you have cracked plates and other things and igniters into a 20-plus-year-old boiler, or knowing when we're doing something and we get a brand new boiler that lasts us the full 40 years, 20 to 40 years if we put the water system in it. So this boiler, for whatever reason, is aging pretty rapidly.
So when we're looking at building a new middle school, will these be things that we're talking about to make sure that we don't make the same mistakes we've made in the past?
Correct.
So that we're looking at equipment that will last longer
Definitely.
than 20 years?
Definitely, and again, it's not always just the system too. I mean, when I always use layperson's terms, but if you, like your car, right? If you put bad gas or you put bad oil through it, yes, your engine's going to go earlier than you would think. And it's the same way with these high efficiency boilers. And that's what everybody's using now, because you do burn better for the gas ratio, and you don't have all the extra gas floating around. They are very high maintenance, so we have to make sure that when we do put these high efficiency boilers in, that we are doing the maintenance. And that's one of the things I want to stress with all of our departments, to make sure that we're doing that preventative maintenance.
Go ahead, Dave.
So I guess just for clarity, do we have a maintenance issue with our boiler?
No, our maintenance
Upkeep?
is great. No,
Okay.
It's a 20-year-old boiler, and that really is the life you get out of boilers, and every year is good. And when you talk about 65-year-old boilers, boilers that were made in the early 2000s are not equal to boilers that were made in the 80s. The steel is different, the composition is different, so you don't get the longevity. Most of these are made basically to fail at 25 years. You know,
They make money.
it's free market.
Planned obsolescence.
But there are things you can do to make sure that you do get the full expected life out of it, and that's the things we want to make sure that we're doing, and we will.
All right. Moving on from Tech Act to the Agri-Science Center. Looks like there's hot water replacement there as well, and chiller replacement. And that's the air conditioning unit.
Correct. Similar to a boiler, it lasts about 20 years, and the one there has actually failed. And we had to do some supplemental work, but we cannot get the current chiller, so that is something we do need to replace sooner than later.
Okay.
I'll ask a similar question as the other HVAC. I mean, 300,000 seems like a larger unit. Should we be waiting on that? Right. I'm assuming that uses the same type of Freon coolant.
Correct.
Pick which kind.
Yep.
Right. So I have to assume that a $300,000 unit cools a larger area, therefore uses more of the stuff.
Yeah, chillers work a little differently. They work under a pressure system and pushing water. But we talked to Trane about this exact unit. We had them come out about 2 months ago. And the reality is that there's efficiencies now. So the chiller size that we have up there, we don't need one the same exact size. So the offset of using a more expensive refrigerant is that we may be able to go smaller with the chiller. So this number, they said, was still good. They thought they could do the whole project.
Okay. Moving on to Trumbull High School. I have a couple questions in Trumbull High School. Can we talk about, I have some specific things to the fencing and stuff around the field for Mr. King, but I have a question about exterior duct cleaning and auxiliary gym floor repair, sanding, paint, and poly. The auxiliary gym floor repair for $27,000 kind of feels like a maintenance thing. How long does that tend to last?
This is actually refinished, so this is actual sanding, bringing it down to the bare wood, and then doing the repainting the lines. So this is a full refinish. This isn't just a top coat. So this will last you 10 to 15 years. Because you'll strip it down and then you'll
Right.
put another coat on every year.
I'm just wondering if that's an item that should come out of the operating budget and not be something that we're bonding. So I don't know how, I know Scott will probably say he doesn't want bonded anyway, so, but that's a discussion for us to have. I'm not saying that it doesn't need to be done. I definitely think the floor needs to be done. I just want to do that. And can we talk about exterior duct cleaning? What does that entail for $200,000? And that also feels like something maintenance to me.
So duct cleaning is extremely expensive, and you could spend $1 million on a lot of buildings. And what that is over time, all your ducts start to build up dust, and they don't always travel down through the systems. But with the uniqueness of the high school is we have a lot of exterior ducts that are insulated. If you look at our roof lines over by the loading dock area, you'll see some of the ductwork that goes from units to units down into the building. So the reason why this is in this year is because if you look into next year, there are 4 rooftop units that need to be replaced. Those units, before they can be replaced, the ducts that connect to them, the ducts in the surrounding area, need to be cleaned. And it's not just pulling them apart and dusting them. I mean, you have an actual company that comes in with special machinery that actually draws through deep negative pressure so that all the dust comes out. This is not done every year. This isn't simply cleaning and dropping ductwork. This is miles of ductwork. This is using machinery to go into the ducts and clean them. And this isn't done. This is done about every 15 to 20 years as well. So this is much grander. And it needs to be done before
Go ahead.
those other units
I mean,
go.
I'm sure you know where I stand already. It's something that doesn't need to be done every 20 years, but it's something that lasts once, right? It's not ongoing, therefore it's not really a bondable item, because otherwise we're paying for a job you did today in 19 years from now, when it's not still being done. It's just my take, which I'm sure everyone knew I was going to say anyways.
Well, no, I think that's my question, is that I know it needs to be done, and I don't have a problem doing it, and the fact that we only do it every 15, 20 years kind of skeeves me, like, shouldn't that stuff be clean all the time? But not for $200,000. And is that something that we want to bond, or is that something that should be in the operating budget? I think that's the discussion on that. Go ahead, Marty.
For me, it's more about the time frame of something going to go for. So I hear you more on the 27,000 one. On the 200,000 one, for me personally, I'd let that stay. The
Okay.
27 one, I'd move. But if it's a 20-year, if it's going to go 20 years, I'd bond it. But can I transition to another question?
You may.
On the 800,000 part for the stadium work, can you break out what is the cost for the lacrosse wall?
Good evening. Mike King, Athletic Director at Trimble High School. I think that lacrosse slash soccer slash hopefully ice hockey wall would be about $150,000. It was $130,000 to $150,000, I believe.
What does that wall do? Can you just explain that?
Sure. What it does is it will allow the athletes a place to essentially practice on their own. So the wall that we designed would allow for approximately 25 to 30 lacrosse players, or half that probably soccer players, to go and either throw the lacrosse ball against the wall, kick the soccer ball against the wall, or for our ice hockey players to practice their slap shots and everything else. Presently what's going on is kids are always looking for a place to throw the ball against. They're using the Ox Gym, which is not good because we have row windows above. They're using the exterior wall of the Ox Gym, and we have cars parked in an L around that, and balls are always running into the road. You know, if you go pick up your son or daughter or anybody after practice, all the cars are parked along there in the spring and the fall, and balls are just flying everywhere.
You're good. Go ahead.
Are there any efficiencies that has to happen with what's happening with the other $800,000, or if you kick this down for 1 year or 2 years, does that matter? I understand, putting aside that it's helpful for the sports athletes to have access to it. I get that. But if you did it next year and you did the other things associated with fixing the field this year, does that matter? Or is there an efficiency to doing it at the same time? And if there is, I just want to understand why that would be the case.
The efficiency that makes sense to me is just getting access to it, right? So it's easier for them to install that before they put up the new fencing that would be right next to it, or before they just pave the area that they would use to get there.
Where will they be locating the wall?
So if you come up the ramp, which we call the team gate, where you have the McDougal rock, to the right where the old throwing circle was for the shot put area.
Okay.
There's a grassy area over there.
Yeah.
So really just, in my opinion, just getting access to it more easily.
And what's the approximate size of a wall like this?
It's in the shape of basically a capital I. And when we designed it, that was the way we could maximize the most amount of people using it at one time, with a rectangular area of a combination of artificial turf and or artificial ice where the kids in their ice hockey skates can practice their slap shots and stuff around that, basically 30 feet all around on each side.
So it's not just a wall. It's a little more technical.
It's more technical, yes. And the idea is to locate it in a place where there's enough room on all, we can use all four sides of it at one time to maximize the number of kids who could use it at one time. And the idea is to try to make it so that it's usable for people across multiple sports.
So thank you for the defining what it was going to look like. I think when we all see lacrosse wall, we think of a stack of cinder blocks, 10 feet high by 20 feet wide, and
Right.
and it's hard to put a number to that without the
So
explanation.
this is a very large wall in the shape of a capital I, and built into that price is the surface all around it. So it's not going to just be a grass area around it. It's going to be an artificial area around it, along with the built-in area for the ice hockey kids to be on. So all that's built into that price.
And what are you paving?
So there's really multiple phases of that. So if you recall, when we were here last year, we asked for $3 million for this, and we received 2.2. We were trying to figure out the best way to utilize that $2.2 million. So essentially, we decided that we could get that done from working from the new track fence, which is the fence just outside the track, in. Right? So that was from 95% of the work that was done was from the track fence in. Now what we're trying to do is from the track fence out. Right? So that throwing wall that would be off to the right if you come up from the team gate, the entire area towards Hillcrest, we're hoping to pave about 90% of that, so there's almost no grass there. And what happened with the renovation is the track fence is now in a different location down there. And by paving over where there's grass now, that will probably close to triple the paved area that we have in front of the concession stand and bathrooms.
I will say that when it's even damp over there, that becomes very muddy and slippery. It is definitely a hazard. I think that paving that area would help with that for safety, and also when the kids congregate over there for flow. I think that I understand that.
Yeah, that's a choke point there that we have. You come to a game, it's really tight and narrow. And now that the fence has been moved closer to the field, and we can expand that, and if you come to a football game, you'll notice a ton of people standing there, unfortunately often in the mud. And then it also will allow us an area where we could put some picnic tables for people who eat if they want to sit down. It will allow us to set up better areas for the touchdown club selling their clothing and all that type of stuff, rather than having the table set in the mud and they're standing there and people don't want to go to the table from the asphalt and doing that whole area. There would also be paving. We would repave the handicap ramp that right now is from the ticket booth up, and try to make that ADA compliant. And that would include a new railing as well, which is required by code. And then around the existing ticket booth, we would pave that so that we have better flow and can get people in and out. That's a very small amount of pavement, but replacing what's there, which is old, and expanding it. And in addition, by what we call the Hillcrest Gate, which is a little bit of a ramp that comes up closest to the Ag Science Building, repaving that ramp. We repaved what we call the team ramp, and then we would repave the other ramp that has had some work there, has been cut and pasted and everything else.
That's where you have ambulance access to the
Ambulance
field
access.
and stuff. It would also allow them to park better.
The ambulance won't have to park in the grass or the mud anymore, and we plan to put a small ticket booth there so that we can sell tickets a lot better. Right now, we just set up a table. The lighting's poor. We have a cash box out. This will allow us to better secure it. It'll be just a 2-window little ticket booth right there, because for every football game and every large event that we host there, we try to get people 2 ways to enter the stadium.
Now, if this is funded, are we done?
We are done.
Okay.
Correct, yes.
All right, Christine, then we'll go to Marty.
Thank you. Just to go back to the wall, for the surface, all that artificial surface you were talking about, like what's the lifespan of that, like how many years, decades do you expect that? And then even the wall itself, right? Like it's outdoors and in the elements, like what kind of maintenance will that need? And just curious about that.
I would fully expect the wall to outlast my lifespan, right? It's going to be a concrete wall that I think would last, a long time. The area that's around it, that's a great question. So typically you would get somewhere from 10, 12, if you're really lucky, more than that for an artificial surface. But it's also not going to get the wear and tear and use that like the field does, right? That's just constantly used and it takes a beating. So I would guess 15 plus years, I would hope to get out of that.
So potentially less than 20 though, for that surface area.
Potentially.
Go ahead.
Can you help me one more second? So I understand of the 800,000, 150 is the lacrosse wall. So there's paving, fencing, and site work. So what of the 800,000 is paving?
I don't have that number. I'd have to check.
Can you give me just an approximate?
The biggest number is the fence.
The biggest number is
the biggest expense by far is the new fence.
The fencing. Okay, so more than
about half of the budget.
That's 400-ish, and then so if lacrosse is 150, the paving is the other 250-ish.
The ticket booth and the railing and the whole thing.
So, Mr. King, just for clarification for them, so the inside around the track, like when you're in the stands and you see where the track and the football field is, that inside fence was already replaced. This is the outside fence that secures the stadium itself, and then comes around. So it's the rest of the fencing. So it's a very large area.
It basically, what we plan to do is fence not behind the home bleachers, but from the end of each home bleacher all the way around. So it's like 3.5. It's one side about half, and then the other 3 sides fully. And that I think that was about $460,000 last year.
Just so I just think they did a really nice job with the field and updates that they made. They made some great safety changes for the track.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you. It has been so well received. Everybody who goes up there just has spoken so positively, and it's been fantastic. And thank you for allowing us to get to where we are now, and hopefully at some point we can complete this project and yes, be done then.
Any other questions on the lacrosse wall, the fencing? What completes that project? Any other questions on the duct cleaning?
Can I just add, for clarification, there are a few other minor things built into that. So for example, there's a water line that we didn't do this year because we basically, things that were going to happen in the Hillcrest area outside that fence, we put off. So for example, maintenance wants to make sure that there's a water line that we have to run from the bathroom to the home side because there's no water over there. That will allow us to clean the bleachers before graduation, get water to the athletes, do all sorts of that. There's also, we did about 75% of the conduit work this past summer to get speaker wire to the other side of the field. So right now we have it on the home side. We don't have any speakers on the school side of the facility. And that really limits our ability to have a better sound system, which we need to implement, but we need to get that conduit too. So there are little things like that were not done this year because it just didn't make sense to disrupt that area if we were then going to come back again and pave and just do it at one time.
And if you guys wanted to throw in really comfortable chairs in the press box for, the people that sit up there, it'd be awesome. No, it really is. It's the stuff that they're doing is coming out really, really nice. So hopefully that project gets finished.
Thank you.
Are cleaning the windows in the press box at least in the budget next year?
I think it was already done.
Oh, okay.
I think Mr. Newman may have done that last week.
Excellent. All right. Any other questions on Trumbull High School? We're moving on. We have Long Hill Administration Building, bus garage, and some fleet questions.
I'll just make a statement on Long Hill. that building's not going to be standing in 20 years. I don't really have much of an interest in putting any money in it. That's
So I think that's part of a larger discussion. I don't disagree with you. You want to go ahead?
Well, I just wanted to understand other options with regard, in particular, to the roof and kind of the design and replacement of HVAC, because I'm with Scott, and it seems odd to do that. And with regard to the roof, where, I was hoping we'd be out of this building already, but, we are where we are. What happens if we don't do this for another year or 2 years and you just have to scotch tape it together for a bit?
So the two items I would not recommend doing that would be the Liebert unit. That is that's the only cooling that's in our server room.
Totally, I'm with you on the Liebert.
That one
You've
is-
convinced me already. I know, I
We
agree
were-
with that.
We talked
Liebert
about that
unit
last night. Vin
needs
said that had to be done.
We got to protect
Okay.
the server room, I agree.
Then I won't lobby any harder then. The roof, it is past its life. At this point, we are, and I could pull the numbers, but we're spending a lot. I just had them out there over Thanksgiving. Our roofers are going up there and they're just doing patchwork.
But how much does it cost in last year, would you say we spent on the roof?
I wasn't here last year, and I don't want to guess at it, but I can tell you so far this year, and I've been here since August, I probably put about $10,000 into just repairs.
Yeah.
And all it does is fix it for a little bit, and it moves the leak over here. As you know, it's a flat roof.
I don't doubt it.
Yeah.
I get my inclination is to do that for a bit and suck it up for another 2 years, and hopefully we get a solution to get out of here at some point. I don't know how other people feel about it, but I would be not interested in
Hold on.
spending the $450.
Everybody hold on. Scott's about to agree with you. Go ahead.
Oh, Marty doesn't want to spend money. I agree. I've been on this board better part of 10 years, and all of them, there's been a plan coming to move out of Long Hill.
Yeah.
I just because there's been no actual work on doing that doesn't mean we should spend money to fix the building that won't last. Honestly, if the roof's dripping, and I know it sounds cruel, maybe that'll make you make a plan to move, not pay to make a better roof so that you don't have to.
No, I think we can say that nicer. I think we can say. I know, but I'm going to clean it out. I'm going to help you out here. So I mean, I think there are people working in that building, and we want them to have a safe and a fairly healthy environment to work in. We understand it's not the ideal situation. We know that there is a master plan, and there is a plan at some point that is not where you're going to be located. I think we're, $10,000 of patchwork. If you do that a couple of times, you're still not at $450,000 for a roof. I think that's kind of what we're feeling with that. We just want to know safety-wise, like the parking lot had to be done. That was a travesty. It's so much better. Hopefully we don't have any ankles, and stuff like that for that parking lot, knock on wood. So I think that's why that discussion is. We're not saying that we're not negating the fact that the roof is leaking and all that. We just wanted to make sure that we're doing that. And we definitely know that the servers need to be protected and cooled at this time because we're not moving in the next 6 months. I think it is a worthwhile discussion to talk about what that plan looks like, and that's a discussion not for this meeting.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the building was built in 1920. It's over 100-year-old building. Trust me, I would like to get a newer building. I'd like to get a different building. That is unfortunately the building we have. So any other discussions for an alternative location and to not put the capital in, but those discussions just have to occur because right now that roof is, and I said 10,000 since I've been here. It could be 50,000 that we spend, and we're still going to spend another 50 or 80 the following year, and maybe even more. So it's exponential because you have a failing roof. So at some point, if you don't do the roof, then the plan B, which would be an alternative location.
Correct. And even if that alternative location was a interim location while something else was going, but that's a discussion that might not even be the purview of this board to discuss, but we want to make sure that that happens when we're talking about spending $450,000 on a roof for a building that we don't necessarily want to keep.
Understood.
Mr. Timpanelli?
I will cave into your sentiments. It's a discussion not to be had at this meeting. But I would just second what Scott has said, maybe even more so.
Yeah, no, I think we're all on the same page with that. I just, it's not that we don't want you to have a nice place to work or, to do that. We just want to make sure we're spending the money in the right direction.
All that goes for the HVAC design unit too.
Yeah.
Just for clarity, it's not just, I don't want any of it, but I can get behind the cooling for this.
Yeah,
server.
Vin told us in no uncertain terms last night that you have to do that equipment, and that's where their
No,
main,
in
main
that I
hub
get- I
is.
mean-
Okay. Hi, Vin, if you're watching at home. Feel better. Bus garage, parking lot design and permitting for 80,000. Can we talk about that?
Sure. Part of that is it's a part of a town project as well. Bill can talk a little bit more about it.
Which hat are we have on today, Bill? Which hat are you putting on now?
Not the WPCA.
Okay.
The bus garage, if you've driven down Spring Hill Road, that we have a big project going on, widening the road, and currently not enough parking for the bus drivers, and they park all up and down Spring Hill Road. This proposal is to design the extension. There's a stream alongside the garage over there to fill that, put a culvert in and fill it in basically like we're doing in front of the transfer station, and to add additional parking to get the cars off the road.
Okay, go ahead, Dave.
Does that do anything to the trail system that runs up in there? Where would that be in location to that?
The entrance to the trail is still going to be to the left of the driveway.
Yeah, okay.
This is to the right
It
side.
would be to the right. Okay.
Go ahead, Scott.
I have no issue with this. I have an issue with it being bonded. It's a design. I think we should pull it out and do it out of the general fund.
I would agree with that, Scott.
Okay. George, do you have any comment on that? Is it a timing issue if we do something like that?
This design-wise, it's probably going to be a year. Is permitting from the state, federal, filling in part of the wetlands. It's not going to be done by June 30th.
Technically by August 30th, right? But we could do it in parts, right? We could give you, if you told us it costs $30,000 to do that, we could do that, and on July 1st we could give you the other $50,000. It doesn't have to be all in one chunk. We could split it over the 2 fiscal years.
Yeah, we want to do that. We just want to make sure that we're paying for it the right way.
Yeah, that's fine, but what we saw on the transfer station was between going in front of Army Corps, the state wetlands.
Yeah.
It
No,
was
I-
years, not just 1 or 2, it was years.
That's fine. Maria, in the past, how did we as a town look at like design work? Was it always bonded? I don't think it was at one time, and then we got into the habit of bonding design work.
If a project was going to take place, the design would be included as a bond. If it was going to turn into a construction process.
Is that stuff for the bus garage in the 5-year? Hang on.
I believe so.
Hold on. Going to the 5-year plan.
So
I'll just
is-
make a counterpoint quickly.
Yeah.
We've done design for 3 different senior centers, so clearly we have not built 3 of those. So just because it's a design doesn't mean that it'll go forward.
I think this is different, right? Because is this a safety? I believe this is a safety issue, which is why we're trying to get the cars off there. I don't have a problem with the project. I just want to make sure we fund it correctly. Go ahead.
Yeah, so it just seems for this $80,000 and it's going to go multi-years that we're creating a hassle,
Right.
and
it
we
might
should
not be
bond
us.
it and be done with it and let them go to work, and creating
Okay.
a multi-year project that now we have to remember to come back. And what if, then you cancel it later, and just for me, it's not a lot of money. We're talking a lot of money and it was going to definitely get done in a small period of time. I hear it. I'm totally open to using general fund to do certain things, but it seems to me that we're just creating a bureaucracy of doing it here, and I don't think we should do that.
Okay.
I just also keep in mind not to use the fund balance. We have few appeals, and we have used fund balance to
Right.
reduce the budget. So just keep that in mind as well.
Okay. And then fleet questions. Go ahead. You think it's working?
Hello?
Hello, look at that.
Just to answer your question, the bus garage is in the 5-year
Yeah.
plan. You have it there?
Yes.
So it's in 25 for the design and 26 for the construction at $500,000.
So that's what she meant about the whole project. Right. Okay, you're good with that discussion?
Are you?
All right. So now talk about the snow plows.
So there's 2 vehicles that are on there for the capital. One of them, they're both plows. We do our own plowing in our district. Our maintenance does that. That's what we need the vehicles for. But one of them is actual body, has a dump body or a equipment body on it that would allow them to carry more tools. The other one is just a straight up 350 with a snowplow package. 2 vehicles. Our fleet is extremely old. Some of our vehicles come from Aquarian, is what I'm being told. They are retired vehicles from Aquarian that were donated. We have a lot of vehicles that are rusting out. We have transmission issues.
Do they have any more they want to give us?
No, I don't know if we want them. Yeah, I have a transmission that's for $7,000 that we have to looking to put into a vehicle that is about 10, 15 years old. So it's 2007. So some of these vehicles are still on the road long past their useful life. And what I would like to do is to do a small replacement every year instead of a bunch at a time. I'd like to do, the usual 10% every year so that we're at a certain point where our vehicles are slowly being replaced.
Okay. Do you have a fleet inventory for the Board of Ed?
Yes, we do.
Can you send that to us
Certainly.
also? Okay. Any questions about the 2? Go ahead.
What kind of tools does one of them need to carry?
So we have the plumber, we have HVAC, so you have extraction materials, you have wrenches, it depends who gets the vehicle. Carpentry will have some band saws, they'll have some smaller circulars, they'll have any of the portable saws and nails and screws and hinges, and I can go on what they would be carrying. So that's what we would have, the compartments along the side. That'd be your equipment body.
Okay. You guys good with that? All right. That's through fleet. Any other questions on any of the Board of Ed numbers? Okay. Anybody have a motion or a change?
I'd like to motion to, I'll do it in chunks, right? Or I'm assuming you don't want it all at once.
No, let's start with what do you want us to go for first? What do
I
you want
guess
to talk
I'll
about?
start with taking out $200,000 for HVAC out of the Trumbull High School for exterior duct cleaning.
Okay, so there's a motion to reduce the bond amount by $200,000 for the exterior duct cleaning, and my assumption is that you would want to move that to the,
To their normal operating budget. It's a cleaning for them to do.
okay. Marty, discussion?
Yeah, I just would say I'm not an advocate of that for 2 reasons. One, I think I heard it's going to be close to 20 years, number one. And number two, if we start throwing that into their budget, you're giving them a larger base off the percentage every year. That I'd rather not do that either. So for both those reasons, I'd rather keep it in here.
That's fine. It's a one-time cleaning service. That's
It's also part of a bigger project for when they do
well, they need
the
it
4
for
unit
the next one, but like equally, I could say that for a lot of things I have to do that are one time for something else. That doesn't mean it's changes that it's a one-time project, one-time item.
Okay.
I just fundamentally, I don't have an issue with one-time events that are going to last a long time. We're building, a middle school that should hopefully last a long. You're going to bond that because it lasts a long time. So my metric is it going to last a long time? I'll bond it. But then the second piece is I don't want to increase the operating budget if I can avoid it.
That's fine. We're looking at the same thing just differently. I'm okay with that.
Okay.
Okay, so there's a motion to reduce the bond amount by $200,000, removing the exterior duct cleaning. All those in favor of that signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those against? Okay. That's going to fail 2-4. Do you have another motion, Scott?
Sure. Motion to take out $27,350 for the sanding of the floor.
Okay, thank you, Scott. Thank you, Marty. Same discussion. I actually agree that this should be in their maintenance thing. Okay, all those in favor of removing the $27,350 for the auxiliary gym floor repair, sanding, and painting, signify by saying aye. All right, good. That's going to be 6, and there's nobody else to say no. So we'll be 6-0. So we'll take out the 27,350. Go ahead, Maria.
Does that mean that they have to absorb it in their current operations, or will they come for a supplemental?
No,
They could do that. They could do it in their 2025 operating budget.
Isn't there some sort of special fund? All right.
Collapsing.
There's only a
So
couple
depending on
hundred
timing
thousand
on when
there.
they want to do it, it would be a summer project, is my understanding. Correct? It would be when kids weren't in school. Not that those gyms are ever not used. I mean, they think they're used 24 hours a day. So I don't stop it. Yeah. Rosemary and Scott. The one that fails 2-4. Paul and Scott voted for it. Rosemary did. Okay. Yes. It's okay. We're all in. I apologize.
I think
Okay.
I'm safe to lump the next one.
Go ahead.
I'd like to make a motion to remove $500,000 from the Long Hill Administration Building for the HVAC.
Before you do that, Maria, do you need to do a total for that section, or are you just doing it as we go along? Okay, just wanted to make sure Maria was all set.
So take out $500,000 for the HVAC as well as the flat roof replacement on the Long Hill building.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion by Scott, second by David. Any discussion on that?
I think
Okay.
we said it all.
All those in favor of removing the $500,000 for the design and replacement of the HVAC and the flat roof replacement, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. So that's going to be 6-0 also. And we're making sure that we preserved the $100,000 for the Liebert unit.
Yep.
Any other?
I'll make one more. I know it's going to fail, but I still stand by it.
Okay.
To remove the $80,000 for the paving of the parking lot at the bus.
For the design and permitting?
Yep.
Okay. That's a motion by Scott. Can I have a second for discussion? Thank you, Marty.
I still don't believe that design should be bonded.
Okay.
Sorry, where are those dollars?
Those dollars are in the under bus garage. That's the 80,000. That was the discussion we just had about how many years it would take to get the project and whether or not we would be slowing them down. Okay. All those in favor of removing that $80,000 signify by saying aye. Scott. All those against? Okay. So that will be 1-5, and that will fail. But your point is noted.
I stand on some principles.
That's it. Any other? Go ahead, Marty.
I just want to make a comment. I was initially concerned about the lacrosse wall, and you convinced me. So I think I'm not going to bring that up to take it out. I do hope when we go through and there's time for other projects in town, senior center in particular, that we've done a lot for these schools. We've done a lot elsewhere, and I really certainly hope everyone's going to be in line on pushing through that senior center. So initially I was thinking I wanted to save that money, but it's $150,000 and it doesn't matter relative
Sounds
to the
really
senior
cool.
center. So I'm not making.
All right. Okay. Maria, can I have a new total?
$5,995,000.
$5,995,000. So we've voted to amend the amount. Do that. So do I need to have a motion to amend the bond resolution after we'd move those totals, or the total is because we've already voted on it? Okay. Okay. So the resolution as amended to appropriate $5,995,000 for the Trumbull Board of Education Capital Improvement Plan for the 2025-2026 fiscal year, and authorizing the issuance of $5,995,000 in bonds of the town to meet said appropriation, and pending the issuance thereof, the making of temporary borrowings for such purpose. So I have to have an amended motion, correct? So I have I have the amended motion. Okay, all those in favor of that amount of money? I'm sorry, did I say 500? I'm sorry, $5,995,000. I like the lower number. Sorry, $5,995,000. All those in favor of that much money? All right. You did it. I'm so proud of you, Scott. 6-0. All right. 6-0, please.
That one hurts. And honestly, I'm trying to figure out how to make this one 7 though. I don't know how. Unless we don't do road this year. Like that's.
Let's just do roads on my side of town.
They already did mine, sure. Actually, I don't know. They look like they're all on one part.
All right. I just want to say thank you, Mr. Gianna. It was very nice. I hope we didn't frighten you. We're not as bad as they say, but you know. All right. Don't scare the man. But thank you. It was very thorough and well done, and we appreciate you taking the time to answer our questions. And we hope you know that we went through it, point by point prior to even to do this, so that that we know the work that you guys put in and the work that comes in from this side as well. So thank you.
Thank you.
Nice job.
All right. Okay.
Pink Floyd.
Where's my first page?
What's that?
You got to fight to go first next time.
I just said, I hope you softened them up for me.
I think we were pretty nice. I don't think we were mean at all.
No, I did kind of hope they're built later in Christmas.
The water should drip on their head.
Then they'd come great.
Yeah.
All right. Mr. Timpanelli,
Yes.
can you move the next
I can.
resolution?
Resolution 12-2402, bonding resolution, Town of Trumbull, $14,135,000. Resolution appropriating $14,135,000 for the Trumbull Capital Improvement Plan fiscal year 25-26, and authorizing the issuance of $14,135,000 bonds of the town to meet said appropriation, and pending the issuance thereof, the making of temporary borrowings for such purpose. I move its adoption.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Scott. The resolutions which are subject to this meeting are available to the public on the town's website. I'll need a motion and a second to read the title of the town CIP bond resolution in its entirety, and to waive the reading of the remainder of the resolution, incorporating its full text into the minutes of this meeting. No, you cannot do it again, Scott.
Might be our last chance.
So I will take a motion to skip all of the reading stuff. Marty's going to make that motion, and Scott's going to second that. Thank you, guys, for behaving. No, you don't. But all those in favor? All right. 6-0. Thank you. Dear Lord. All right, George. Mr. Estrada, thank you for being with us this evening.
Thank you for having me. We are here to, my team is also here to answer if we need to get granular on anything. We'll try to answer any questions that you may have. But we worked very closely with the First Selectman and the Finance Director on trying to deliver a budget that actually is lower than what the overall asking was last year. So that, a lot of difficult decisions, but I think that what we've presented to you this evening is something that we're ready to defend, because everything there is, in our opinion, of great importance. And I'll answer whatever questions you may have.
So I have a couple of general questions before I go to Marty. When we were looking at the plan, you obviously did an amazing job whittling down what could have been extremely large. But I have just a couple questions on paving. They're in general, they're not on specific roadways. I understand that the Daniels Farm Road paving plan is out in the capital plan in the 25-26 year, and that we're looking for MetroCog and some grant money to make that happen. When you're designing your roadway plan, your paving plan, though, Vin asked that we ask that your write-up, $5 million in paving, that you use the pavement conditions index data, and that data is more than 3 years old, or is about 3 years old now. And how he wanted to know, how do you validate what that data showed you 3 years ago to what the current conditions are, based on, weathers and things like that? Like, how do you know what roads really need to be paved and when?
It's a great question, because actually the roads deteriorate at different rates. So what the index demonstrated 3 years ago and what the conditions are today when we engage a new assessment could potentially really flip some roads to a higher priority because they've just deteriorated quicker than others. So it is something that we will be looking at probably in the general, it'll be a general operating discussion after the first of the year. We will include that type of funding in our request, because we are due for the reassessment of the roads. And that should be done every 3 to 5 years. And I think right now we're at like three or four? A little over 3 years now. So we've reached the point where we will be reassessing, and that will guide us. That will take the year, and then that'll guide us with our plan for next year. So for the selection of the roads, these are based on physically assessing. Our team goes out, and Rich Infante, our Director of Operations that's here, that's actually a paving expert, he works with our engineering department and other consultants. And so we review what that data is, and then we really, as a team, we sit around a table, and it's an agonizing process, because we're trying to do live assessments calculated on what the data is, so that we can realign. And there are years where you'll see that a road may all of a sudden not be on the year that it was originally in. It was going to be 3 years out, and it gets moved to the next year, only because that road is just deteriorating, and the traffic volume, the safety concerns, if there have been impacts from utility work over the years that now start to reflect. So it is a living document.
Marty, did you have a question?
That was a question.
Vin, if you're listening, we remembered to ask.
Before we jump into these, can I just ask, how's the preservation program going?
The
preservation?
Very good. We actually we've contracted the remainder of the ARPA funding for the that was available for the pavement preservation that we had to meet for this calendar year. That's in place, and we have $150,000 in the plan here to augment the 180, I believe it is, that we had in ARPA.
130 was left.
130 that was remaining from the original 800 that was provided from ARPA funding. So that, as we had discussed 2 years ago, it will become part of our overall pavement program annually, we're going to be looking to do a certain level of pavement preservation, that's crack sealing and other treatments, to extend it. That's basically extending the life of the asset, so that we're not addressing that 8-10 years out, that we're extending that lifespan out 15 to 20 where they should be, before they start needing anything that's more comprehensive.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I think a couple years ago when we talked about the pavement program, we were putting more money into it with the plan to decrease the paving, right? Like it was supposed
Yes,
to move roughly
absolutely.
this way. This seems like we're still roughly running in a linear direction so far.
We are, and that's actually a really important question, because that linear will continue probably for another 4 to 6 years before the pendulum starts to swing, because we are addressing the roads that have that severe deterioration that had been pretty much deferred. The pavement preservation is allowing us to not lose any ground with the roads that have enough integrity to be able to extend their life, so that pendulum will start to transition. And we anticipate that that's probably more likely somewhere around 6 years out, a little bit more possibly, but that pendulum will swing. Overall paving will begin to decrease, and will continue with the pavement preservation, preserving the integrity of the road. Yeah. And
That's
if
fine.
I
Those
may
were my
add-
questions as well.
If I may add, it's a proven theory, because this has been demonstrated in other states and municipalities. They have been able to swing the pendulum from constant replacement to extending the life of that, and then really being able to reduce eventually the annual expense of the larger replacements.
Sorry, you just made me think of one more thing, which makes sense, right? And I think I'm on board. I think we all were. That's why we started to fund it. Of those other states, are they geographically in the northeast or the northern part of our country, or are we?
One of the case studies was Rhode Island.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Questions on that? My other questions, this is more general. It's not specific to the plan, but it helps me understand a little bit more. And I think Doug can probably help us, Mr. Bogan. Oh boy, it's really not that bad. Can you tell us with the change in the ARPA funding that happened at the last meeting where the rest of the money was decided, that Zoom meeting, they gave you more money from ARPA for vehicles. Can you tell us what you bought with that, what that did to the request that was here, or those in addition to? Can you just come up, because I can't hear you from there. That's that. Sorry.
I like to stay hidden. That wouldn't have anything to do with capital. That would have been anything bought was operational. It was smaller vehicles. So it wouldn't have anything to do with. Are you talking about with the capital fund?
With the ARPA money that
Right.
you?
That we received. Yeah, I
Yes.
received
So what did you purchase with that money, or what is being purchased with that money?
one Equinox, one pickup truck, and one utility body and 2 flatbed bodies for existing trucks that are the cabs are good, the frames are good. They only have 40,000 miles on them, but the bodies rot out.
Okay.
So, and that was how I mixed and matched to get to the 102,000. Because we had $62,000, I think, that was allotted to me, and someone from town council gave me 40,000 more. So that's how I came up with the.
Okay. With those items.
I wish. I was shocked. It's like.
We were all shocked.
I texted George. I said, "Did I just get $40,000 more?" Yeah, I wasn't expecting that. I'm sorry. Anyway.
Yeah.
From town council.
Yeah.
Yeah. We kind of felt that way too, but it's all right.
Anyway.
Yeah. So those items. So what of that would have been in either your operating request this year or this bonding request?
Well, the Equinox I would have recommended the building department put in for it, and the pickup truck definitely.
Okay.
The bodies I probably would have looked to see what else was in it to purchase, but those were small dollar. Those were $7,000 for each flatbed. It wasn't a lot of money that I was concerned with.
How much if you
Okay.
combine the truck with the bodies
Oh, if I was to replace the entire truck and not just the body, they're $70,000 trucks. So,
Okay. Do you guys want to go through by department?
Go quickly, but I think that works.
Okay. That's fine. So let's go to page 83 really quick. Thank you, Doug. 83, it starts
That's for real.
88. Okay. No more questions on the paving and how they got where they are, and they're good with that? Okay. Guys over there, we're good? All right. On page 88, we start with the Trumbull Library. There's $60,000 for some roof replacement in the children's area. I'm sorry. I went to my glasses. Those are really tiny numbers, 560. I liked 60 better. It looked like a dollar sign, didn't it? Like, look good that way? I'm sorry, 560,000. Sorry about that. I liked my number better.
I agree.
Yeah, 560,000. Then town hall, we have some Nichols conference room. I'm sorry, that was in the previous year. Design and replacement of the HVAC control systems. That's 200,000. Asbestos analysis and abatement. Marty thought we had gotten rid of all of the asbestos in town. What happened?
Schools.
That was just the schools?
That would be wonderful. In the town buildings, we still, especially buildings like this, the older buildings, there's still a lot of abatement to do in the future.
Okay. And phased flooring upgrades. Any questions on any of that stuff? The town hall annex, there's no money, there's grant money for $30,000 for ceiling and lighting improvements at the main entrance. I'm sorry, I was reading. I feel like it should be the thing above. So that's at police headquarters. That was from grant money. Animal shelter, there's no requests at the animal shelter. The transfer station for $200,000 design and construction.
You skipped page 91.
Oh, it's the double-sided, I'm sorry. Moving back, senior center, there's no money being requested this year. Garage siding replacement. When we went on the tour of the Public Works Yard, those are the big, tall buildings that we're
Yes.
peeling and
All of those barn-like buildings that
that house our really expensive equipment.
You've supported the roof replacement over a phased period. Now we have to get the sheathing that is starting to curl from the water that was coming from those, the roof damage. And that will preserve the envelope and then stabilize everything.
Okay.
Can I just ask?
Go ahead.
Just one up. I know we aren't asking for money for the senior center, but where are we at?
The senior center, the building committee is doing its work. The goal is to arrive at a concept that will be considered for a referendum in the spring, I believe, is what the goal is at this time. And that we are not asking for anything in the budget for that because that would stand alone, similar to the high school or to the middle school as a separate project. It's not.
Which is fine. When you say spring, are we saying spring 2025?
25, right?
Okay. Just
We're looking at being ready for a referendum in the way of design and preparation for a referendum by the spring. When that referendum occurs is not something that I would have any knowledge to, but we'll be ready, we assume, by that point for discussion of a referendum.
Okay, I'll take that. Thank you.
Good to go, moving on. All right, now I'm on page 90. There's no money requested for the animal shelter. There was no money requested for the Trumbull Nature Center. The transfer station, it says other funding sources for $200,000. What was that other funding source? Do we know, Maria?
Yeah, that's the Teams account. It's where each town puts in a certain dollar amount every month to
Oh, okay.
cover any additional costs. So there's a fund.
So
separate fund.
we're not adding to the bonding request on that. Okay. Townwide sidewalk repairs and replacements in for $80,000, and building security updates for $100,000. That's just townwide. Any questions or comments? Okay. On page 91.
93.
Sorry, no, 91. Athletic fields,
May I make a comment?
yep.
So I know you aren't looking for money from us for a Unity Turf Park. Unity Park Turf Field. Too many words, I apologize. I just want to state, for one, I'm against turf fields. I've made that very clear. I'm not a fan, even though the money's coming from a grant, because that's just putting a fixed cost coming to us as a town when it comes to replacing it. We don't have a choice, right? Currently, if we don't want to mow, we don't mow. Once you put in the turf field, we have to maintain it. We have to spend the money every 10 years. So even though the initial cost isn't coming from us, it is putting money on our books that we have to prepare for long term.
Yeah.
So I'm not in a favor of
I'm going to ask the first selectman to speak with this. Has the grant been secured?
Marina Bakalar is continuing to work on this. I just want to make it perfectly clear, the town did not seek out this grant. It was done by the Little League. And we have now picked it up to work with the state to bring it to fruition. I'm not sure it's going to actually happen. We will update you as it goes along, but we did not start this grant process.
I appreciate that information. Thank you.
So we're not actually bonding anything for that, correct?
Even though we don't now, in 10 years,
Oh, no, I agree. I agree wholeheartedly. I don't like baseball on turf, but that's just me. All right. In parks, we have guardrail installation and replacement, restroom upgrades, sprinkler park replacement. That's Indian Ledge.
Yes.
Okay.
Lainey, can I talk on that?
Yep.
We are, if I read it correctly, it's basically a tear out and put in a whole new one, right?
Yes.
And we just took out the kiddie pool in Tashua and put in a sprinkler park.
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
Where I'm going with this is we've had 2 sprinkler parks in town for a very long time. One of them, which was barely used, and even Beaches is used moderately, but it's not overly packed. I don't believe we need, just because we have one, that we should spend another $500,000 to put in another one because we still have 2 in town now. I don't believe the need for a third, and this is coming from somebody with 3 small children that love the sprinkler parks, but there's just, I don't see the need.
Can I provide a little context?
Yeah, please,
If I
by all
may?
means.
The first of all, the 2 we've had the 2 sprinkler pads. We're converting the kiddie pool, the shallow pool at Tashua, to a sprinkler pad. That kiddie pool was designed at a foot, and obviously that's not a safe depth for children, for young children, because that one is for infants and toddlers is what that was for. What we're installing at Tashua is going to be for infants and toddlers. It's not for older children. One of the important components of the use of Indian Ledge sprinkler pad is it doesn't require a lifeguard because it's a pad. It's something, it opens. It's the first one that opens in town. So when the weather starts to break and it's appropriate, the Parks Department activates that Indian Ledge Park. So it gives you, before the pools are open, it gives you a place to go on hot days for families to go and enjoy. And it's not just kiddies, it has for older children. The other one over that we just replaced at Beaches provides us a similar opportunity. So those 2 are amenities that can open before pools open and are they can remain open later after the pool season ends. So that's the importance of those two. But you have to think of it as you've always had the three amenities. You're not adding an amenity at Taschereau. You're just changing the use of the amenity that's there.
What kind of usage do we get out of the sprinkler parks?
They're very, very active.
Well-
Actually, Beaches was so overwhelmed that it had a surge tank that used to have to build capacity that it would shut down because it was on so often. So if you go up to, I go up to Indian Ledge regularly because we have operations up there. That sprinkler park in the morning, in the spring and summer, is always active with parents with young children, and there's an adjacent playground. So it's really, it's a site that's very, very well, it's under use all the time.
Now, speaking of that one in particular, it has like 6 parking spots or so, right? It's a small area.
You haven't been to my park in a long time. We completely reconfigured parking there. It's actually a beautiful site now. You have to go.
Because I was going to say, if you're coming next for parking, right? Because
yeah, no, we added
Okay, I'll
parking
go up there.
across from it also. We expanded parking. We probably, 5 or 6 times the parking that we had before.
Yeah. I think one thing that Dimitri had said at a prior meeting was that the useful life, like the sprinkler park that's there, is at the end of its useful life, but we've gotten more than we expected. When was it installed? I think it's 40.
25 or 30 years, I believe. I
think it's old. Yeah, it was older. It was older than expected, and it was the underground component that had to be redone this time.
Absolutely.
And that he anticipates 25 to 30.
By the end of the season this year, we had about 40% of it that had failed, that just water didn't even go through anymore. So it really is completely at end of life.
So, as someone who is frequently going by that area, it is. I will concur with you. It is always packed. There's either people on the playground or on the sprinkler park. It's always nice to see the use down there. It does get a lot of use, and that parking came out fantastic.
Yeah, thank you.
Really well done.
Okay. Are you good as far as sprinkler park? All right. There's some safety fencing for the rails to trails, trail bridge reconstruction. Which bridges? There's $75,000.
That is Great Oaks Park.
That's the one that was closed for.
Great Oaks Park is on Dayton Road. It's a neighborhood park. It has a series of bridges that allow you to walk through the park. It was constructed pre-deep regulations. So today, in order to replace what is there and continue the same type of access, the estimates are over between $1.5 and $2 million to do, because we will not be able to construct it the way that they did before, which was basically they dropped in blocks and then they straddled from block to block. It's going to have to be elevated so that we don't interfere with water course, and the permitting for that will be extensive. Again, the minute we hit anything that is near water and permitting, just like Spring Hill Road, it could take us years just for the permitting. But the construction, if the town decides to move forward with that, is going to be order of magnitude over $1.5 million easy. That's the first estimate that we received.
Ouch. Go ahead, Christine.
So I live nearby there, and I used to take one of my dogs walking there, but I never really, the bridge wasn't accessible. But with that amount of expense in a park that is really a niche park, right? Unless you have a kid that goes to Taschereau School and you live in that neighborhood, you probably don't even know it's there. I just wonder if that's even worthwhile having those bridges, and it just becomes. Yeah.
But is it a safety issue because it's there if you don't fix the existing bridges?
We have blocked them off so that you can't access them. In time, we haven't done anything further because we need some guidance as to if it's an investment, as you're saying, that is justifiable for that expense for a neighborhood, a smaller use. If we decide that we're moving forward, then I would say that we're going to begin removing some of it, some more of it, and preparing it for future development. And by that I mean reinstallation of something that's more appropriate. But we will not make that decision. That's all predicated on level of funding. If we're going to fund the replacement of that, then we'll start making the plans for what we need to do. But it's all based on funding.
Go ahead.
Just curious if you have a sense of what it might cost just to demo it, if there isn't a replacement for it.
Do we have that bill? Demoing it?
No.
And do you want to say anything more on it?
Actually, the bridges, there's about 5 bridges, and they all go over a floodway, a FEMA mapped floodway, which makes the elevation critical. That, FEMA regulations, you have to be a foot above the 100-year flood zone. Makes these spans. One of the boardwalks that's there to the northern part of the trail, which zigzags through, it'd be a magnitude a lot bigger because we can't put those blocks in the floodway and build it the way it was constructed originally. It's very expensive. Just even trying to figure out, we have to get borings in there to figure out whether we could support the bridge. Just figuring out how to get the borings done is a mind twister.
So is there an option to just not do that work and to let it be a natural open space?
Yes.
I think one of the things that is happening is that it's been in disrepair for such a long time that it becomes one of those, public perceptions, thinking that because it's been sitting there and people perceive that the Parks Department's not paying attention and not doing anything, when in fact you're doing a great deal of thinking about a really complicated problem to solve. It's not just, let's get some Boy Scouts in here and fix it, which is what I think sometimes the public seems to think that they could do. So I just wonder if it might be better suited to think about just getting rid of it altogether and just, it's the natural space that it is. And I'm a person and now I'm not going to walk over there, but there's plenty of other room for me to walk around, on my own and with my dog or whatever it may be.
Yeah. What I'll, just to follow up, I'm sorry, Marty, just to follow up on that, what we will do is try to get an order of magnitude estimate on what it would be just to remove, because I agree with you. We have had the calls, well, when are you fixing this? You're just letting it sit there, you're not doing anything about it. It's just simply because we've been doing all of the studies behind it so that we could determine what we're going to do. I think it's prudent what you're saying, that we start exploring how much is it to clean it up right now, and we can determine what that's going to be in the future, but maybe remove some of those bridges that are there right now that you see that give an appearance of abandonment, because it's not abandoned, it's just simply that they failed and they're no longer safe.
So I just want to make sure I'm understanding. So great catch. I did not know it was $1 million replacement. I'm one of those people that was like, what is going on? Why isn't this getting done? So I completely agree. It seems hard to rationalize $1 million investment there. So when you look at this 75,000, like what would be or maybe we just shouldn't be thinking about the 75,000. It seems like money needs to be applied to clean up the area.
Right.
And communication needs to go out to the community and help people understand what's happening and why. But I can't imagine anybody's going to be saying we should spend $1 million. Is that for all the bridges, or was that?
It's over $1.5 million.
$1.5 million to do all those bridges?
That's the baseline. It goes up from there.
Yeah, hard to imagine anybody's rallying for that. Or maybe we just remove the turf fields and just do it that way. Right? No, I know. Freshman
He's
sports.
Kidding.
We'll get rid of freshman sports. And we
oh my gosh, shush.
I have a question on a different line, unless anyone wants
Nope,
to talk
that's
about
okay. Are we good at talking about that for right now?
For the rails to trails, no problem with the railings, but is that something we can get any kind of grant or state funding for?
It's difficult because the state grants establish them with the understanding that the municipalities, and this is how they did it along the entire Rails to Trails, with the understanding that they made the initial major capital investments to establish them, communities would take on the responsibility of maintenance. We have these discussions from time to time where grants appear. We haven't nailed one yet, but we continue to search those out.
We're looking at paving, Twin Brooks drainage and paving, Nichols Park. I'm sorry. The Unity Park drainage and paving for 862.
That will be the conclusion to the improvements at Unity Park. If you go by there now, you'll see that the drainage improvements are all complete, and the final phase will be next spring, when we come in and we do the paving, because we've obviously disturbed a lot and we have a lot of old deteriorating pavement within the park. So this will be, as we did in Twin Brooks, coming in and reestablishing the roads that are there that are severely deteriorated or have been impacted by the construction of the flood control measures that have been put in.
Okay. Any other questions on that? Nothing in the pools. Nothnagel, tennis court replacement.
How many tennis courts are up there?
2.
Is it so? These are the only 2, and they need to be replaced.
Nothnagel. I just like the name Nothnagel.
Unfortunately, Dimitri isn't here to speak it with more authority on this. I believe that we arrive at those are the final ones to replace, but
Any
that's my
idea on
opinion.
the usage? The only reason I ask is I'm not against fixing the tennis courts. I'm not against people using them. I think they're great that we have in town. But we have a lot of tennis courts, and not last time, but not long ago, you guys were up here wanting to convert tennis courts into pickleball courts. But now we want to replace tennis courts. So I'm just trying to understand.
Well, I think that they're.
I know they're in different places.
No, but the tennis courts, like they've already changed over to pickleball in some places so that you're doing that. I think this is maintaining the number of tennis courts. And there still are quite a few tennis players.
Which I get. But I mean, we took away workable tennis courts to put in pickleball. And now we need to fix other tennis courts. That's why I'm just
But we would have
to-
needed to fix them anyway.
They're part of the inventory of the park's inventory for tennis. So these were slated in the 5-year capital plan 5 years ago for replacement. At
But
this point.
they are still used as on a
When
regular
I've been
basis.
there, I see people playing there.
I don't even know where it is, so I'm not going to pretend like I've seen anyone playing there.
And it would be easy to assume that because we've converted some of these tennis courts to pickleball courts, the tennis players need a place to go, so they're kind of squeezed into these locations, so they might get more use.
I think I would assume that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And on a separate note, not just about tennis in general, can tennis players use the high school tennis courts during the weekends or in the evenings? Or is that only for high school tennis?
I really don't know, to be honest.
Okay.
I see people up there all the time.
Okay. Thank you.
If you look at the Parks and Rec website that lists tennis courts, the high school ones are listed there as available to the public.
Okay. Page 93. Oh, hello.
We do have the most pickleball courts of any town. in the state of
Outdoor,
Connecticut. I just wanna
outdoor.
clarify that. But we still have many tennis courts. We did not convert all of our tennis courts to pickleball courts.
No, I know we didn't convert
Yeah.
them all. I just remember talking about
Yeah,
taking
well, I just want to
some.
make sure there's some people that, may not know that.
I think Marty's used them all, right?
Yeah, I see them there all the time. So, but yes, but there's tennis courts at Tashua Knowles. There's tennis courts at the high school. There's tennis courts at Nothnagel, which is in Nichols, behind the firehouse. So it's kind of hidden. It's kind of hidden. Oh, you have been there. Yeah, there's a softball field there too.
Pickleball.
No, there's no pickleball there.
I'm thinking about the other one behind.
We could do that if you'd like, but no, there's no
No.
pickleball there right now.
Bring it back, bring it back.
Yeah.
In Teresa's, Main Street.
Other tennis court behind.
There's
That's Island Brook.
There's Island Brook. There's pickleball courts at Island Brook. There's a tennis court and there's a basketball court. All that has been renovated. It's very nice back there, and 4 beautiful baseball fields. So
All right, so we're on to page 93. These look like vehicle and fleet stuff. Doug just looked down like, oh.
No, I'm just getting my paper.
All right. Does anybody have any questions specifically about EMS? We're looking for an ambulance with a 900 chassis.
No, it's the chassis. We're going to rebox like we did the last time to save money. The box never goes bad. The box is a big aluminum box because it's one of the modular ambulances.
Yeah.
It's the chassis that goes bad. The chassis starts rotting. I've having a lot of electrical issues. There's 130,000 on it now. So double it because the ambulance sits still as much as it runs. That's scenes, whatever.
Okay.
So double the mileage. We do that with fuel trucks. You do that with anything that sits and runs as much as driving and running. So you take the box off and you put a new chassis underneath the box, and for what's it, 175,000. Chief Bass and I talked. For $175,000, you can do this job, or you can buy a completely new ambulance, and they're going for $350 now.
Okay.
So this is a cost-saving measure to keep the fleet up.
All right.
We did this before also. This is the third one we've done.
Okay. You're looking to replace a Freightliner snowplow sander. And that's not a $35,000. That's $535,000.
That's two.
That's two of them.
That's two.
Oh, I'm like, that's a lot of money.
We came up with that a replacement program when I first took over 8 years ago to keep the fleet optimal. For a while, we had problems with the fleet. I was the welder, I was the fabricator, and the fleet was falling apart faster than I could weld them back together again. So years ago, we came up with a replacement program, and we've stuck to it, and the fleet is doing well. So I would hate to lose that.
I'm going to ask an overarching question because there's just a lot of money going out today. And you've always been honest with us.
Correct.
Is there anything that you can do without?
Actually, Rich Infanti and I talked about this already. And another paper. So.
Sorry you asked.
So
no, listen.
We're
he's honest,
looking,
right?
I look forward. I'm also very cheap in my old age. There's things I can defer to next year. Next year's going to be a light year. My maintenance program is doing wonders for the fleet. So I could take the hook lift body, the garbage truck is a 2003. So that's going on 22 years old. I'll roll the dice and push it off to next year. Hopefully I can make it last. My guys are pretty scrappy. So we'll keep that till next year. Next year's going to be a light year. I've already figured that out. We're doing very well. So we could take the hook lift body off the system for next year. We could defer it. We could defer the roller. Our roller is old. I'll keep it going.
A roller is like if you're paving roller?
Yep. It's a small roller, though. It's for patching. It's for
Okay.
what we do for patching. It's not something you're going to do a whole road with.
Okay.
So I could take those two out without any issue. A couple of things we'd rather not do without the crew cab. We deferred that from last year. I asked for 3 last year. Remember, those were going in the operating, and we justified putting them in the capital. That's the third one, and the third one is on its last leg. It's just the environment we're in. They're just, well, you saw them. I think you guys came down last year.
Yeah, I was just going to say.
It was rotted last year.
Just for anybody who's watching this, I just have to tell you how important it was for me that you guys take the time and show us the equipment. And you've invited us down to our Public Works, to both the yard, so that we understand when we're talking about things and we're like, do you really need to paint a building? Do you really need to, like, we're looking at dollars and cents, but you're showing us really like the things you took us through to show us, what rot looks like. Maybe you pulled in like really bad trucks and put them up and gave a dog and pony show. But I don't feel like that. And it was really important. Like, I feel like we all came away with a sense of they're really not, Right. And, Bill took us and offered us, I call it the poop tour, and took us, I had never, I walk through the trail all the time and didn't understand that building there was a pump station for the WPCA and what that actually entailed. And we went to each of the stations, and I know that most of us on the board did that. I am in awe that so few people keep all of that flowing in town, and people do not realize how lean you guys run an operation. I think you guys have on total like 38 employees in the Department of Public Works as a whole that keep all of our roads clear, all of our roads paved, all of these things going. And some of you actually, like people who remember Star Trek, it's like Scotty, giving it all she's got, sir. And you really are holding some things together. So for you to tell us that you could do without those two things, we appreciate that. And that is very helpful because we're looking to make sure that you do have the right stuff and to do that. So
the catch basin attachment, if need be, I can push it off a year. We bought one a couple years ago instead of trying to replace the vac oil truck. The vac oil truck is like $600,000. So and this works actually better. The guys like it more. They'll do 25 catch basins a day versus 6 or 8 with vacuum truck. It's very labor intensive, where this isn't. We could push that off a year. We have one now. We were hoping to have a second one and do more because we sub out some of those every year. We're trying to do more in-house. So
what would the cost offset be? It's $235,000 roughly for that catch basin. What are we spending to outsource?
Well, right now we have one, so what we'll do is we'll continue with the outsourcing we have. That I do not have a number for.
Right, because we had a whole conversation about how much it went up last year.
Yeah, so
that's a worthwhile conversation. But how many more can you do with a second one?
25. Well, instead of 25 a day, you could do 50 a day.
So 50 a day, and how many days do you have? Right, because how much was it for? Was it up to $90 a catch basin, or am I making up that number?
Yeah, right now I'm in charge of fleet, so I don't have those numbers.
It's down. We got a better contract at about $50 a catch basin. It's going to change for this coming year.
So let's say.
And just if I can just, Scott, before you start doing the real hard math, it's always a matter of being able to staff. So obviously we have the truck. It gives us the ability to double up on what we're doing in the way of catch basin cleaning, which we have requirements for Clean Water Act and everything else. But that just because we get the truck doesn't mean that it's 365 days times 25 catch basin. It's not that clear cut.
Right. Yeah, you have a certain season that you actually put these things out on.
Just to add to that, we're required by.
Can you just come to the microphone to make that easier?
We're required by the MS4 program to clean a certain percentage of our catch basins. We have over 8,500 catch basins in town.
No, and we went through all the numbers last year. I know more about catch basins than I ever cared to know. And just quick math, right? If it's $50 per catch basin, and you can do 25 a day. If you do that for 50 days, right, which I think would probably seem fair based on the amount of time and people, that's $62,000. Honestly, to me, that's worth pushing it a year, right? Spending the $62,000 to have somebody subcontract. But if that number came in at $200,000, I'd say let's talk differently.
Right.
Rich has a pad there. What's Rich got?
Doug and I reviewed all this stuff to see where we could save, where we could push things out. The services and the equipment that he's looking at are services that we could replace. It costs us money, but we can get rental equipment. We could fill in the gaps if we need to make it work. There's certain things that we can't fill in very easily. The sweeper is one of them. Very expensive when we have to hire a sweeper because there are no sweeper rentals that are bare rental without an operator. And it ends up to be $1,600 a day when we have to replace a sweeper. Now, the sweeper is a very high maintenance piece of equipment, one of the highest maintenance pieces of equipment that any municipality has. So you're always doing things to maintain it. That's one of the critical things that we've been struggling with to keep up with EPA and DEP recommendations for the catch basin cleaning, for street sweeping, and then this also ties into our paving and pavement preservation. This year we did 20 miles of pavement preservation roads. which need to be swept before, during, and after the process. So we've added on a lot of things happening at the same time. We have multiple things going on in the summer, from a paving crew to pavement preservation, that were spread out all over town. Our leaf program, we've redefined our leaf program. We're doing it a different way now, that sweepers are critical in the operation. We've actually cut down on our labor. We use 16 less guys to do the leaf program and get a better product out of it. We've condensed the leaf program to 5 weeks, something that would go 3 months, go into January and February. So there's some things that we're integrating in that we have to get for the town operation to make it efficient, and some things that we can manage, like Doug looked at, to push out, hire out, your catch basin cleaning, et cetera, to try to keep up with what we need done.
Marty, go ahead. See if that.
If we're really paying $62,000 a year, and it's only $235,000 that you're going to do over 10 years for $23,000 a year, and you're paying $62,000, it seems like we should do it. We should buy the thing and do it in Durham.
My only take is that's for 1 year. I agree with you. We should.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
But
So
if next
62,
year's
so we
going to
should
be a lighter year, and hypothetically interest rates will be a little bit lower.
Yeah, but you're literally losing money, though.
Oh, but you're essentially buying 1 more year of having the machine on the back end of it, and paying hopefully a little bit less in interest this year. And we have more
It's
money.
I mean,
I know it's minimal.
it's marginal.
but
It's
I mean,
10-year rates.
We have more coming off the books next year.
No, I
looking at
hear the point.
total.
In this specific example, though, I think we literally are saving money having them get their own truck and using their own people, like we're saving on, as opposed to outsourcing 62.
Well, now I'll ask a separate question though. With that, if we get another machine, obviously it requires people to handle it. What aren't they doing to be able to do this, right? Because you have them. All your guys are working full time. I know that. Right. So you're taking them from a job that they're currently doing today.
Let's let the operations boss talk
Okay.
about that. I just take your.
You're like, I got a
equipment
machine.
Yeah. Our guys are doing something all year round,
Right.
as you know, different things. Catch basin cleaning is very important. As Bill said, we have actually 8,900 catch basins around town. We have not been keeping up to DEP recommendations, cleaning them out. We're finally getting there with rental catch basin cleaning and the Steco that we have out there. This will help us. It will tie up another person, but it's going to make it easier on us maintaining all our catch basins across the town. That's something with our existing vac wall that you would clean 5 or 6 catch basins a day. These new Stecos, you could do 25 a day. So you're condensing the amount of time needed to clean the same number of catch basins with these.
Can I ask that question a different way? If you, instead of pushing this out, if you get this machine, do you still need to contract out?
And that's the thing, if we can get these 2 machines here doing the volume, we already discussed it with Bill to be able to use the back wall, shared back wall, between highway and WPCA, so that we may not have to contract out as many catch basins each.
Was that really,
We will bring it-
really big truck with all the things?
Yeah,
That looks scary. Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Because we have our own vac wall, we don't want to replace it because it's $600,000. We could do most of what we need to do with these machines that get it done relatively quickly. We can condense the amount of work into a shorter period of time, same amount of catch basins, and then take up the difference with the vac wall from WPCA.
So you wouldn't need to
So
outsource?
No, we would not. We would move into not outsourcing catch basin cleaning, so that would get removed.
And I get all that, but I'm still not sure if I heard the answer. And I'm sorry if I'm being repetitive. That person that's now running this machine, obviously there's a given time that you can do this, right? You're looking at a finite amount of time. So whether you did it, I don't know, if you always do it in June, what would that person be doing in June that we now don't have that job being done?
You have to look at, previously we were using our vac wall, we're cleaning 5 catch basins a day. With these units, we're doing 25 basins a day. So what we used to do in 5 days is taking us 1 day. We're making time, we're creating time for our.
So they would condense that work,
So you
so that
take-
person isn't
On
taking
the
away
back-
from another
right.
job.
Well, on the back end, we'll get more time out of them.
The person running the vac wouldn't run the vac anymore. The vac will be retired. So
Okay.
the manpower that was using the vac wall at 5 catch
So
basins
that
a day,
vac wall is just
it's
going.
It's phased out.
Can
You
we
only,
can we sell that machine?
no. We need to keep 1 vac wall in town. It's critical for final cleaning, for jetting sewer lines.
Okay.
So we have 2 right now. We don't want to replace one. We're going to keep the better one that we spent a lot of money on. So that will be available. We won't be using it as much. we'll use the higher productivity catch basin cleaners.
I can't believe I'm going to say this, but I really feel like they need that machine.
I'm still arguing with myself. I haven't voted
I
yet,
know,
but I'm
I
still
know.
thinking.
And I even see Scott waffling. Like, we just talked ourselves into giving him an extra machine. How did that happen? I think they use reverse psychology. How did that happen?
All right, what do you need the Kubota for?
The Kubota tractor?
Yeah.
That will be another shared thing between the Parks Department and ours. This year, if anybody's seen us with doing leaves, we made a broom out of a York rake to take the leaves off the Tinks buckets. You'll see our big claw buckets. They take most of the leaves off the grass, and we made this thing that Rich had an idea of, so we made it, and it works better than we thought. I mean, it's sad. It's like, holy crap, the thing works.
How you're saying it, you had no expectations.
Have you filed a patent yet for this?
Yes,
Right.
we
You probably should.
Yeah. Don't tell anybody.
So, yeah. So we remember we have 3 crews out. So we're trying to share one tractor between 3 crews. So again, it's guys on backpacks trying to do all this work manually, manual labor, getting hurt, trying to keep up with 3 crews. So if we get another one of these things, build another broom, we'll be just that much faster. On top of that, summertime cutting lawns with a flail mower. If you ever see us trying to keep up with grass growing in the spring, and then also whatever the parks would need it for.
Can I just add in? This tractor will add to our leaf program. It certainly makes us more productive. It cuts down on the manual labor with backpack blowers to clean up the shoulders, et cetera. But the thing that we're seeing more and more with the humid weather, hotter temperatures during the summer, we're having trouble keeping up with sightline and safety issues in intersections and stuff like that. So we can't keep up with the 2 tractors that we have for roadside mowing for all the sightline issues and safety concerns that are coming up. This stuff is just growing. I'm sure you've driven around town, you see the weeds hanging out into the roads, et cetera. And there's just so much around town to cover that we're having a lot of difficulty keeping up with it. So we're going to supplement the summer operations with roadside mowing and sightline issues with a 3rd tractor out there. This will also be used for snow removal, for sidewalks, et cetera. This is a very universal unit that will supplement parks and highway to get everything that we need done. This machine will be going out, 11 months out of the year.
Can it cut down on overtime? I'm trying to convince myself, just so you know. I'm
Yes.
Right, because if you're saying that you can do leaf cleanup quicker, and I know leaf cleanup, a lot of that is overtime, right? Because you're trying to fit it into a very condensed window.
Yep.
What are we paying in overtime right now for that? And
I don't have the overtime figures per se, but we did
roughly.
47 hours of overtime this leaf season. Last year was 49 hours, and I think the year before was 53. So we've been shortening our overtime hours just because of these things we've been implementing in the LEAP program. So yes, every year we're working towards cutting down on the overtime, cutting down the expense, cutting down on injuries, trying to get rid of the manual labor out of the equation as much as we can.
Any other
Thank you.
questions on equipment?
Do you have anything else we can take out? Because I guess we're going to give you more money. So.
How've they been doing that? The last time somebody on town council gave them an extra 40.
My wife would give me more money for my allowance.
God. All right,
talking
so
to her wrong.
page 95, moving on really quickly. In economic development, there's design sidewalk connection from state parking lot to Twin Brooks, construction sidewalks Dunellen to Trail. There are notes on that. The White Plains Road, the state commuter lot to Twin Brooks connection is the US DOT Transportation Alternative Program TAP grant, and the department seeking approval for $50,000 on the CIP for incidentals not covered under the grant. And then the Dunellen sidewalks is LOTSIP grant funded for construction, and they want $100,000 in the CapEx for potential matching grant costs. Scott.
I already know where I stand. I'm just making a point. For the sidewalks, first of all, design. I don't think we should put in bonding anyways, but adding more sidewalks to the town until we change the requirement on the town cleaning them, I'm against. That I'll keep my mouth shut on the Dunellen one, but the $50,000 I'm going to look to take out because honestly, I looked at some of the sidewalks that we have in town after a small amount of snow,
Right.
and 2 days later they still had ice on them. I'm not
Right.
blaming the
We-
town for taking care of it. It's that the requirement of the town to handle it, not the
We-
people that live there.
We already have the TAP grant money, so that's to complete the project.
That was for the Dunellen one.
Nope, that's for the White Plains Road, the state commuter. So we already have a TAP grant that's to complete. Those are like the things not covered under the grant. There's the last bit.
I still stand that just because we
That's
got a
fine.
grant doesn't mean we should put them on.
Okay. And the
I-
only other thing in that section is town hall node multimodal safety improvements.
Yeah, can you explain that?
Do you want to speak to that?
Yes, the 150,000.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
We engaged the MetroCog, the regional planning agency. We've had several meetings with them. As all of you know, I'm sure there was a fatality across the street here, a pedestrian trying to cross the street that unfortunately didn't make it. The town did an assessment, so we looked at what improvements could potentially be made in the general area, really Quality Street, Churchill Road, Main Street. Main and Churchill are state roads, so we can't make improvements on those. So we need to initiate the conversation with the state, and that's why we went to MetroCog, which assists with that sort of engagement with DOT. We are very confident that we're going to qualify for some significant grant funding because those are state roads and there are documented life safety issues. There apparently have been 2 fatalities in the last like 10 or 15 years on Churchill Road. So it's documented that improvements, the state really does need to look at these for improvements. So as we have done in the past, when we are going to pursue those large grants, we initiate the design. We work with the state and MetroCog. So we will. Our intention is to develop basically the general design of what those improvements are, which would not only be on the road, but they would help us connect better the existing sidewalk infrastructure that we have between Quality Street, Main Street, and Churchill Road, because we have a lot of seniors that live across the street over here that go to the library. They come to Town Hall, they walk, they go to Stop and Shop, they walk back. So it's creating the safe pedestrian experience for the people that live in the neighborhood. You have the condominiums across the street also that crossing Main Street can be challenging. So how do you do potentially some traffic calming measures that are designed into the road? Could there be islands for someone that is not walking as quickly as they used to, that they can basically go halfway, catch their breath, and wait for the next signal to complete their... So it's creating that safe pedestrian and vehicular plan for the entire, we're calling it district, which is really the entire, tying all of this public space, Stop and Shop, library, post office, town hall, everything, so that it's a safe experience getting to and from here. So this is the design money, as we've done in the past, that assists us when we do the application to usually Rena does her magic in writing the grants that usually fund the major infrastructure improvements that have to happen.
Anybody have any questions on that?
I don't have questions. Just here's my problem. I have lots of problems. I know. It sounds like more sidewalks, and I know I'm harping on this. I want more sidewalks in town. My kids can't walk from their school to my house without cutting behind another school because there's no sidewalks. It's the concept that the town has to clean them, and it kills me.
I have the answer for you in this
Yes.
case. 90% of these are on our property.
Okay.
They're going to connect the town library. It's the interconnection.
So it'll be ours anyways.
Yeah, so it's really improving what we have right now, having professional engineers really evaluate, are they going to the right place? Should they be redirected or funneled to a collector spot where you'll safely transition over? So it's really improving our infrastructure.
Okay.
It in other terms though, like seniors, or when you look at functional measures, we look at time to cross a certain distance. So if you can't cross 50 feet in less than 13 seconds is what's considered the need for safety, right? So how would you take the existing sidewalks you have? How would you move people so that they're to do that?
Get it.
But it's also things like, could you change the timing of the lights? Could you add a crossing thing? I think that's what they're doing that. So if they can find grant money for that, that would be great, because you can't always make people walk faster.
No, nor do we want them to, right? We just need people to drive slower.
Well, I always want people to walk faster.
Exactly.
Especially honestly, you come up that road, you're going.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So I don't think that's what it was meant to do. That's economic development, engineering. There's that ugly culvert word again. A lot of culvert stuff. Anybody have any questions for Bill on any of those items? There's a townwide culvert design and construction that's been ongoing. We talked about that in the last several times at ARPA meetings, and what that looked like and what we were facing coming down the pike. We have a landfill closure dump.
Yes, dump one. It was a bulky
We
waste.
have a dump?
Yeah.
She didn't know you had a dump.
I didn't know we had a dump. I mean, I say I'm going to go to the dump. They say no, it's a transfer station, but we have a dump.
On the other side of the river.
Huh? Look at that.
We have more than one dump?
We do.
We have 2 dumps.
Well, you had the transfer station where
That's not a dump. They tell me that all the time.
That's a landfill.
Oh. Well, that sounds
but
yucky.
that's closed. But the one on the other side of the river was a bulky waste landfill that had a permit up until 2020. Now we have to close it.
And what was that $195,000? What is that? What do you have to do
A drop in the bucket
there?
of what it's going to cost.
A drop in the bucket of what it's going to cost
Yes.
to close it.
Yep.
Well, that sounds yucky.
Happier, were you?
I don't know. I'm just.
Anybody have any other questions on?
It sounds like we're being forced to close it. Can we get any kind of grant money? Or is there anything out there that can help?
Not this. Not
Not
this
yet,
phase.
but maybe.
This is just the design phase.
You say maybe, I'll be happy.
Maybe. We will definitely look. That's
Okay.
for sure.
Look how happy he is. Okay.
I won't be here anyways to vote, but.
And then WPCA, pump station sewer system evaluation preliminary design, pump station design work. That's Merritt Boulevard. Force main evaluations. These are things we do not want to break.
Right.
These are very complicated things. I honestly, I would love for somebody at the high school who needed a capstone project or a senior project to come and actually take your slideshow and videotape what you talked to us about. I was blown away with how we move that and how people even think to move all that stuff from one place to another and how it gets there and what happens when it stops. It was, I came home, they were like, you're talking a lot about this. I'm like, because it's important. It's really important. So, all right. So, that takes us to the end of the request. Does anybody have any changes or motions they want to make? You can.
Anyone else wants to go first? Aaron? I'd like to take out from Parks, the Great Oaks Park, $75,000. Page 91.
Page 91, Great Oak Parks design money for $75,000. Can I have a second? Scott, thank you, Paul. Discussion on that. My recollection from the discussion that we had was we may not fix it, but we need to figure out what to do with it. So we may need that money to clean it up. Did I miss something in that discussion?
Yeah, it's just maybe the labeling is now
It-
wrong. It's not designing for the $1 million bridges. It's using that to
to clean it out, but I think they should do an evaluation before we decide how much they need, right? Because they don't know.
Well, I think you would have to design, like, evaluation and design. I think that that's what that money would be there for.
I don't know. Can you call it a potential cleanup a design and still have it covered in a bond? That's a real question, right? Because that's really not what it is.
So you need some sort of either repair or removal or abatement
Or an evaluation.
or an
Right,
like,
you aren't
I don't care what you call
Not
it.
gonna reconstruct. No reconstruction.
No, that's just design.
Well, that's what it's labeled.
Right.
It's labeled
We have to change
design and yeah.
So, yeah, you would have to, I mean, you have to evaluate how you're going to get all that debris out of there. It's not just a simple walk in there and do it, because you have water bodies to cross.
Well, and do you have to subcontract out somebody to do that evaluation, or is that something that we do in house?
It would be probably subcontracted out.
Right. So that would have to go bid. Right. I'm assuming you'd have to bid it first to know what it is. So us giving you $75,000, first of all, besides that it's not for the right thing, it's a premature number because we have no idea what that would cost.
Not at this point.
Okay.
So, I mean, I'm the one who opened this can of worms with my question, but I do wonder if we take this out, you would have to put your thinking caps on and come back or maybe a supplemental or some sort of funding request to figure out how to go about subcontracting out or whatever might need to happen to remove what's there. For the
Yes.
I'd be all on board for a supplemental, but aside from that, in reality, we can do a bond offering for $75,000. We don't need to wait till it's $20 million.
Okay.
We like to around here, but we don't have to.
But isn't that, well, excuse me, but isn't that more of a, it's not a, is it a
Right,
bonded
so-
I don't
project?
think so.
I don't believe
But-
it is.
Right, so it would be supplemental anyways.
Okay, so we don't have any authority as the Board of Finance to talk about what they do or don't do with that project.
No, it's really just
So I
trying
just
to
want to make sure, I
visualize.
don't necessarily have a problem taking it out. I just want to make sure we're not leaving them with a hole that they need to fill. Well, they do have holes that they're
They
trying
need
to figure
to
out. what to
fill
do
when
with.
they figure it out. Right, so currently they don't have a hole, but they know they're going to. We just don't know if that's going to be to replace it and bond it or get money to get a contractor in here to actually evaluate it, which are two different things.
Okay, so the motion before us is to remove $75,000 from the Great Oak Parks Trail Bridges reconstruction. Yes, Scott motion, Paul seconded, so now we just have to vote. If you're in favor of removing that $75,000. Okay, so 6-0. Okay, Scott, do you have another motion you want to make?
Sure. I would, and I'll do these one at a time.
Can you tell me what page?
93. Take out $67,000 for the hook lift body of the garbage truck.
Thank you, Scott. Thank you, Dave. Discussion.
He said we could.
Sounds like little
He
kids.
said we could.
He told me he could.
Yeah, so it's motioned and seconded. Any discussion? You don't want to discuss it? You're shaking your head.
Yeah, I'm fine with it.
You're fine with leaving it or taking it out? All right, so all those in favor of removing the dump hook, the hook lift, with the garbage truck thingy for $67,000? Okay.
Yes, he said so.
That's all I got. That's the best argument I have.
All right, you said so. And did you want to make another motion?
Yes, I do, to take out $49,906, which I did not know we went that far down, for the roller.
Okay, Scott's making a motion. Marty said he's seconding that. Same logic. All those in favor of removing the $49,906?
Now, I'm still arguing with myself if he still said so for the next one, but
Okay.
I'm going to lose, so I'm going to move on. I'm okay with losing, clearly, but
Okay,
I will go on to page 95.
okay.
Take out $50,000 for the design of the
did
sidewalk
60.
connection from State Parking Lot to Twin Brooks Park on White Plains Road.
Okay, that was for which one?
The $50,000.
Okay. Scott's making the motion. Can someone second it so we can have a discussion? Thank you, Marty. Discussion?
Honestly, until town council gets off their butts and does something about the people who
I-
are by the sidewalks, I have no interest in paying so that we have to then hire more people to clean them.
I am not like disregarding that at all. These are existing grants that we've already had that could jeopardize the grant. So-
Just because we go apply for grants doesn't mean that we want to actually pay more money to do them.
Oh, hold on.
The 50,000 is for incidentals for the trail that's already in process. It's like for removing utility poles or cutting trees that aren't covered by the grant. And this just kind of ties us up.
How much is the grant?
The grant is for, it's approximately 1.2 million.
I will die on this hill.
You can die
I
on
am
that hill.
so against
Okay.
adding more sidewalks to this
All
town.
right. So-
and
so-
I want sidewalks. That's the sad part.
I know, but
It's not a sidewalk, it's a multi-use trail. It's a 10-foot wide trail.
On the road?
no.
It's right. It's a road diet narrowing White Plains Road, and
Is it a
putting in-
part that people can walk on that requires clearing by our public?
We do not clear trails.
So if it snows,
It stays on there.
this thing that's identified as, where was it? I even told you the page.
Sidewalk connection.
Right. Sidewalk connection.
It's a connection of.
Yeah, well, it's on White Plains Road, but it is a 10-foot wide multi-purpose trail
On a main road.
on a
right?
main road.
That they won't have to clear.
That does not
We
require
do
clearing.
not-
So if it snows, it will just
Yeah.
stay covered.
That we're spending $1.2 million of grant money, and this is just to clean up the stuff that goes around it.
Doesn't matter to me.
Okay, just made that. So we're gonna vote on that. So Scott has a motion and Marty seconded to remove that $50,000. All those in favor of removing the $50,000? Okay, all those against? Okay, so that's gonna fail 1-5. Sorry, Scott.
Listen, some
You
things
made your point. We're good? We got it?
I
All
don't
right.
think so because it's 9 years going. It's,
I know. Anyway, do you have any others?
I don't.
you
I
guys
want
have
to
any
though.
other there?
I really do.
Okay. Maria, can I have a new total? Can I have a new total? I just lost my little piece of paper, though.
Just a big number.
It is a big number.
While we're waiting, can we get clarification as to why this ordinance before the town council has made no progress relative to the sidewalk cleanup?
Because it's stuck in committee.
Stuck in committee.
That's my nice answer.
There's a proposed ordinance. Ashley Gaudiano has brought it to the council, and it's been in committee for at least a few months at this point, and has not come out of committee. But it would require that property owners are responsible for for shoveling the snow or moving the snow in front of their homes.
Which honestly makes sense because I don't know anywhere else in the world that doesn't. Or at least everywhere I've lived, and I've lived in more places than I care to.
That's why there's only one Camelot.
Well, we have one in Trumbull. There's a road there. Anyway,
13,940,000.
okay. And I'm correct that we've already voted on those objects, so we don't need to amend the resolution. So there is a resolution before us appropriating $13,940,000 for the Trumbull Town Capital Improvement Plan for the 2025-2026 fiscal year and authorizing the issuance of $13,940,000 in bonds of the town to meet said appropriation and pending the issuance thereof, the making of temporary borrowings for such purpose. All those in favor signify by saying aye. And against? All right. 5-1. Passes. It is a lot of money, Scott. It is a lot of money. But they're good things. I just want to say thank you. I know you guys worked really hard to pare the list down beforehand. And thank you for throwing us a bone so we could take $49,000 out of a $13 million bond.
And thank you for your support. We really appreciate it.
Guys.
Okay, we just, it is 9:30. We just have to go through our year-to-date expenditures and our fund balance. Let's go, hang on one second.
I didn't give you a fund balance.
That's okay.
97 starts the bank.
97.
Guys, thank you all. Have a good holiday.
Bye now, you too. Okay. Maria, do you have anything on the year-to-date that you want us to look at specifically?
I have some tabs there. Let me see.
Right, we're what, 5 months in, so we
Yeah,
should be
we're about
looking at like 40.
42%.
Yep, okay.
On the salaries, because the other accounts, they're not straight line. Town Hall, page 203, I think I brought up under account 578805, which is the extraordinary item, is 23,000 in the deficit because we're still doing OSHA remediation.
Do we have more expected?
I have to discuss it with Public Works and the other departments, see what else they have to do.
Okay. Do you think we'll be able to cover that in the account? I mean, because we're running at like 26% in there.
Yeah, we normally are under budget in that account, I think, should be able to. But it's still 6 months away, so. The police department, page 205, we always look at their salaries and their overtime. Under the overtime, they're 41.5%, which is, salary should be about 42, so that's good. The other one's just minor overages.
So I just have a question. Do we have more police? I know we're filling up, but training, that's for new officers, right?
Yeah. Yes.
So are we expecting
The training
more coming
is-
in because we're up to 75% on that?
The
so far?
training is for their time, the time of the training.
Right. Do we have more cadets coming through? Right, because hypothetically, if we're at 75 now and we have more going in, we're going to overspend that.
I think we're due for a roster update from
The chief, yeah.
I don't think we got one.
Not
the
only
last
that, they
month or so.
train throughout, not just the new officers, but.
Right, but I mean, I'm
Current.
assuming the new officers take a chunk of that money.
Yes, agree.
Maria, would you ask Tom McCarthy and the chief just for updates on where we are with open positions and what we filled? The chief usually sends that report over. I don't think we've had one since the summer.
Okay.
Yeah. And also, just the follow-up with while I'm thinking about it, the Board of Education, their fleet inventory, they're going to send that over to us.
Yeah, we also,
Well, Yeah, we asked for it. We'll see if it comes this way.
we also have an inventory for insurance purpose. On the
Okay.
town side.
Okay,
We should
good.
be able to match the two.
Excellent.
And obviously, we just had a long discussion and how much Public Works does, but they're running over. Do we have any concern? Right, they've already overspent their overtime and they're running above
account?
42 for their salaries.
49. Is that the?
They're at 52% on page 209.
That's just the Public Works Director's Office, which is only 3 people.
So how are we running over? Right, I mean, we're over on salary and over on overtime.
I believe there might have been a contract to settle, and there's something in contingency. I will
Okay.
double check that one.
That would
Yeah,
make sense.
the Public Works, the supervisors, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I'll double check that.
You guys have any other questions over there?
Which you will see on page 210 on the other, the Public Works Highway, the same thing is going on there. Right?
Gesundheit.
They were a little bit closer, so I didn't.
Yep. It's a larger department, that's why.
Right. Okay.
The nurses, on page 216, it looks like their seasonal is over because their full-time is under.
Yeah.
I think some
Offset.
yeah, some nurses left.
Yep.
I think the other one is, the big one is a tree warden. And that has to do with that storm, 220, page 220. So that tree storm, even though it was such a large storm, it wasn't considered a storm by FEMA, so no reimbursement.
Being that we've had issues with them every year, can we get Dimitri back in to talk about the tree warden?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right, because I understand the storm just happened, but I'm going to guess that since they already spent their
They're
budget,
still-
he's not going to stop.
He's still, he's
Right.
still cleaning up.
That wasn't meant as a knock
No.
on him. I'm saying like
They're
there's still
still
half
cl-
the year and there's still trees.
They're still cleaning up.
So we
yes.
should get that plan ahead of time.
Yep, yep, I'll have the new tree.
All right. Any other questions on the year-to-date?
We may be coming for a supplemental on the workers' comp. As you know, that large claim that was discussed,
Okay.
that was just approved by the town council to settle, so.
Okay.
Okay.
So that would be for next month?
Yeah, the council is meeting next week,
Okay.
full council.
I'll take a motion to approve the minutes of our November 14th meeting. If you would take a look. Can I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Thanks, Dave. Thanks, Scott. That was Dave. And Scott. They do sound a lot. Any corrections, comments? Vacation transfers. Any corrections? We're good? Can I take these by unanimous consent? Excellent. And then, anybody have anything else? Any other questions or follow-up? If not,
Have you,
a motion to adjourn.
wait,
Wait, hold on.
are you gonna look at the schedule for the, not tonight, but you need the schedule for the budget hearings? I understand, not tonight.
Yeah, no, she sent it to me to look at, and it's fine. I just need to know what date the first selectman transmits to us and to the Board of Education, and they're usually that next night. The schedule looks okay. I think we just have to decide.
It's the 3rd. March 3rd is when we have to submit the budget, when the first selectman submits the budget to the Board of Finance.
That's the Monday.
March the 3rd.
Yes. So March the 3rd, so that Tuesday is usually when we meet with Board of Ed. That would be March 4th.
And I guess, I understand that Dr. Semling won't be here.
He won't be here?
Yeah, I think there was a communication back, yeah.
Okay, we can finalize that at the next meeting. We'll, let me reach out to him, make sure, and then we can adjust.
Yep.
We don't have to meet with the Board of Ed first. We can
That
have our
early.
other meetings. We can just figure out how that works.
Yep.
I don't know, I'll double check. Okay. Other than that, we're good to go? Oh,
Motion to adjourn.
we did.
Somebody.
Do you want to stay here?
I want an individual vote.
Marty, how do you vote? Do you want to go home?
I guess.
All right. Yes, let's do 9:42.
Yeah, you catch tonight. That was good. So late.